And go.
All right, and here we go. Welcome to episode number 34 of You Had Me at Halo, where we talk about one of gaming's most storied franchises. And after about a year and a half, we are down to the final countdown. Today we got a lot of things to talk about. We've had a couple weeks with the multiplayer. There's a lot of things on our minds about that, and we definitely want to talk more about the upcoming campaign, even spend some time reminiscing. But before we do, let's go ahead and meet today's Spartan team. First up, we got Mr. Spartan Mike, aka Mr. Kage Maru. How's it going, Mr. Mike?
Hey, it's going good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Super. Thanks for asking. Next up, Spartan Jesse, aka Mr. Don Cabeza.
Hello. How is everyone? Good? That's great.
Good.
Yeah.
I assumed. And I was right.
Next up, Spartan Ursel, aka Mr. Soul Blazer.
Hello, everyone. If you haven't heard, I am good.
Next up, Spartan Daniel, aka Nadian. Are you going to make it unanimous?
Samesies.
Finally, as your host today, it's Spartan 8, aka Mr. One Bad Butter. All right, guys. First of all, thanks. Oh shit! Okay.
Are you? Is your?
Oh, I thought he was
do you have your YouTube muted
Oh, it's
again?
Jordy. Never mind. He's an idiot. I don't care. Go ahead.
I'm not hearing myself echoed today, so it is definitely not me.
Are we good, chat? In terms of
I thought he was talking about all of us echoing because we were saying the same thing.
Probably.
Was it sarcasm?
I mean, I'm listening to it. I'm not hearing an echo on mine.
Yeah.
okay.
We're good to go.
That was probably sarcasm going over our heads.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
it's late.
Oh,
Who knows?
are we still getting feedback?
Trav says no echo.
okay, yeah, we're
No,
good.
it's-
So
Sounds fine for me. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. Okay. Let's go.
We'll keep going until we
And
get at least
go.
until we get a couple more people having the same issue. All right, guys. I'm going to start off with. I think we can go ahead and start off with the multiplayer stuff first before we get back into the campaign. Last time we met, the last couple times we met, actually, we haven't spent much time on it, despite the fact it's been out for a couple weeks, and the reason is we had a special guest twice in a row, and we wanted to really delve in on the campaigns those times. But it's now been a couple weeks, and I think most people who are Halo fans are aware of some of the complaints and things like that. But beyond that, there's been a lot of positives as well, and so I wanted to take a minute or take a few minutes and kind of go around with everybody here and talk about some of those things. And what are, I guess we can start off with some of the things that, some of the favorite things that you guys have been experiencing so far. And then we'll get into some of our opportunities and, where we're hoping that 343 really prioritizes next. But I'll go ahead and start with you, Mike, because I know I've seen you on a lot at night. Kind of what's some of your general thoughts on the multiplayer? How have you been feeling with it so far?
I'm feeling Halo more than I've felt in a long time, especially with multiplayer. That's how I'm feeling. No, it's good. It's really, really good. I love that the randomness is back. Like those Halo moments. I almost want to say those, quote unquote Halo moments happen more now in this than maybe any other multiplayer Halo. It could just be me. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I know that's kind of like luck of the draw. But yeah, it's really, really good. It's the gameplay is solid. Like the gameplay of the maps. I'm sure we'll go in more later with the critiques and stuff, but it's really good. I cannot wait to see. I'm eager to see what, if anything, the launch version, if you want to call it, how that differs or what they're able to fit in there. But it's better than I really thought it would be. And the map consistency is a thing. There's only one map I don't like.
Launch or Behemoth?
launch. That's the
Yeah.
Reach remake.
Who wouldn't like Behemoth?
Yeah.
Behemoth's
Yeah,
not a
why
good
would
Slayer
not-
map, in my opinion.
What?
It's a what?
Not a good Slayer map. In 4v4, it's too big, especially with the
Oh.
vehicles.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that's the wrong answer again. But okay, yeah, we'll let Mike keep going.
Well, I respect your opinion. No.
I
but
know.
yeah,
I only respect the good opinions.
Other than launch, I like all of the maps, which is rare for any kind of multiplayer game that I like that many maps. And it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting because like that one almost feels like it's more for big team battle.
Launch.
I would love to see launch and big team battle rotation just to see. I don't know if it's one of those things where it's too big for 4v4, but it might be too small for 24 players. I don't know,
Yeah.
But I'm digging it. I'm having fun. It is starting to wear thin on the playlist. Like that was my one disappointment.
Yeah.
Where like I was hoping we'd at least get Slayer with the Fiesta.
Yeah.
But that didn't, it's someone on my stream last a week and a half ago said that they have the playlists like this because of the battle passes, but I don't know how true that is because he was from 343. So like that was kind of a head scratcher, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm just eager to see what the fight, like I said, the launch version is going to be because I'm hoping at least it gives us a better playlist. That's my big thing is the playlist.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely some things where we'll want to like dive in a little bit deeper there. I'll go. We'll get some general thoughts from everybody first, and then we'll come back around because I think you definitely touched on some hot topics that we'll want to
as I tend to do.
Well, I mean they're legitimate for everybody. Even as somebody who's put in 50 hours so far, not 2,000 yet, but I'm getting there. Let's go ahead with you, Jesse. Kind of what's some of your thoughts so far? I know I've seen you on there quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm like 50 something hours played, I think, and that's probably as much as I put into like Halo 1 through Reach total. Because in large part, I was horribly addicted to World of Warcraft, and my brother always had the 360. So those two things combined, so I'd play through the campaign, play through co-op a lot, never really touched multiplayer that much because this one though has just gotten me in a way where I think the fact that I'm pretty good at it because I wasn't very good at the other ones because I never played them enough, but this one I've been playing so much Battlefield and so much Overwatch in these various online multiplayer shooters that I'm actually pretty okay at Halo in a way that has gripped me. And this last week I haven't touched it very much for various reasons, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night and when we do our community stream because it's just really fun. And I'm like rank 30 something, 35, and I have not focused on
battle
challenges.
pass.
They just have happened. The only focusing I've done is I played Fiesta when I might not have normally. But other than that, I've just been playing. I haven't used my double XP tokens because they're probably going to make those per match, in the future.
Yeah.
I'm saving them for that. I've fallen in love with it far more and I really liked 5. I played hundreds of hours of 5, but I played a lot of Warzone in 5. This is the first time I'm playing a lot of just arena for Halo, and it's fantastic. It's really well balanced. I really like all the maps. I like one flag, capture the flag, and launch.
Yes. It feels like it's designed for that mode. Yeah.
But like I've jumped between, I've done ranked, which I didn't think I'd be doing, but I've really liked it, and I kind of wish the radar was never in Halo again. And that they would also go back to the old footsteps that you could hear more easily because the radar wasn't as powerful.
Yes,
it'd be really nice to get back. People like Ursula completely ruining it for the smart people like us.
Yeah, thanks,
They're like, please give us the old radar.
We probably we might have to just cut his opinion off while Halo's still good.
I should write a tweet saying I single-handedly reverted the radar in Halo and I pinned it to the top of my Twitter page. Nick style.
You can just start your review with that. You can never get mass downvotes.
The radar is my fault.
That's me. If you want to go over to Dan.
Yeah, let's hear Daniel. Like, what's some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much like Jesse and Mike. I mean, I played a ton of 5, but it was primarily Warzone Firefight because my wife and I would play, and it was kind of a zen, de-stressing activity more than it was, competitive because you're not, it's not PvP, it's PvE. But I did play a decent amount of Arena, but this is the first time that, aside from my qualms, which we'll get into later, that I've really been drawn to playing something, Arena style, in probably 6 years. I agree that, definitely with Mike too, like the playlists, like I'm hoping that we get more at launch because the quick play and, I miss having a dedicated. I'm so used to MCC. I miss having a dedicated hopper for when I want to do objective or when I want to do
MCC
Slayer.
is ridiculous. The customization.
So
Yeah.
good. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like I miss that, and I'm hoping that we get something similar. And Fiesta was nice because it was a nice change of pace. Because I love like playing Fiesta and Action Sack was what was called an MCC, where it would be just all the random.
God, I need Action Sack back.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like they would have, Fiesta. They would have like crazy oddball
Griffball
modes
and stuff like that, and yeah,
exactly.
Mhm.
So like,
Mhm.
I hope something like that gets its own dedicated hopper. That it's more than just the Fiesta
Limited
mode that we
playlist.
got, for example. Yeah. And let's see. Some of my other thoughts were. I'm not a huge fan of Deadlock. I kind of hate that map, but I suck
the
at it. I
nighttime
haven't
big
figured
team
out.
battle map, right?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I haven't.
I like that one. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I haven't gotten the flow to it. Maybe I don't know. Like I just
That's how
I
it was
pretty
for me in the beginning, to be honest.
really,
I wasn't sure how I
yes.
felt about it,
Yep.
so that hopefully it clicks with you.
I get
I'm hoping so, 'cause-
the new best gun in the game, the shock rifle, and then I hang back and I just keep pinging people in the head.
I
and
don't
it's
think I've
super
got a
fun.
single
Proxhopper is very
headshot.
wrong.
With that thing,
Yeah, it's an
I'm
instant.
getting
It's an
better.
instant kill if you
Yeah.
do. It's
Yeah.
so
even
good.
says perfect.
Oh.
And it seems to. I don't know if you guys think the same, but it seems like the projectile speed is a little bit faster than the sniper rifle, because like I feel like there's maybe a little bit of lag when I went back to Halo 5 earlier this week just to test it out, and like I was pulling off headshots left and right with the sniper on that, and then I go back to Infinite, and maybe it's because the aiming's
Scoped
different
in
and all this other kind
or
of stuff. but-
descoped?
Do what?
Scoped in? Are you talking about or
Scoped?
descoped?
Yeah,
Scoped?
scoped in.
It should be hit scan.
Yeah.
I think
That's
so.
what I thought, but it's maybe
it's mostly the desync issues that they have.
yeah, I was gonna
but
say
the-
that was gonna be probably
That's,
leading into
yeah.
my other complaint.
Mm.
But I think
It's
that's
a
those are
beta.
the- I know, yeah. Yeah, but like Aquarius, like I mean, some of these maps aren't just. It's the first time in a long time. I mean, Halo 3 had maps that were not only strategically great, but also were just beautiful to look at in some cases.
Mhm.
And I feel like this is very much that, like Aquarius, where you've got the vertical vegetation farming. That's incredible. I mean, just these little details to build the world and lore in the multiplayer maps is a nice touch that was sometimes missing, or sometimes was in Halo 4 and 5 maps, but because they were so removed from the game, there was no real context that you could call it back to, right? And I feel like some of these we're actually going to get to see some of these elements in the game itself. Streets is one of my favorite maps.
Oh god, Streets is I think
I love
possibly my
Streets.
favorite map.
It's
Such a good
it's
map.
so good.
It's such a fantastic map. It's the
Every
flow is
game
great.
mode is good on it, honestly.
Yeah.
And God, it's such a beautiful game, beautiful map to look
Yeah.
at. Like those neon lights. Like I'm a
Yep.
sucker for neon. So like,
And our first impression of it from IGN was so good.
Yes. What the heck was
Yeah.
that?
Oh, jeez.
I liked it even then. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, the map looked great. But
Yeah.
it was obviously somebody who was very distracted while playing.
It reminds me of like
it's probably me. Like if you watch me play and you're like, "Ooh, shiny! Look at this."
that's usually me.
Mhm.
Oh man. Well, hey, at least you weren't, like obviously, from what I've noticed on Twitter, some people when they get in those matches are just taking pictures of space squirrels and the tree in the very, very, very back of the map. So
That's what the academy's for, man.
Yep.
Oh man.
I'll go next really quick. Honestly, I echo basically everything Jesse said. The only Halo multiplayer I used to play in the past was co-op, split screen with my brothers and friends. I only played online in like Halo 3 when like way back for maybe a couple of weeks, the trial, and it was just me getting decimated. Like holy crap, people were good at that game. Halo 5 I only played to like level 30 or something. Like I didn't play Halo 5 that much, but Infinite, it's just it clicks. You know what I mean? I'm trying to understand why it does because I need to write about it. So I need to kind of know like why does this click the way it does?
Right. Yeah.
But it does. Like this is the first time I've actually wanted to just play a multiplayer game that's not like Age of Empires or League or something. I want to sit down on my console, play a few matches of Halo. And it's I know all about the progression problems, the challenge issues. And yes, I wanted to give challenges a chance. Not a fan after playing through. Either way. But when you're playing the game and you had that one stronghold match where you're like enemy team's like 140 and you're at 60, but you somehow climb all the way up, and it's just crazy intense. Who the hell cares about other things at that point? At that point, what matters is the match and the experience that's happening, and that's been unmatched for me.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the most interesting takeaways for me as somebody that for anybody who doesn't know, is put in 2,000 hours in Halo 5 Arena.
Wow.
Some of it, and there's a lot of it that I wonder. I wondered, like, did these guys ever really give Halo 5 a chance? They are different. They are different. I do wonder though, especially for the people that are stuck in, that really like the competitive balance of ranked. The one thing that 5 did do a great job of is be competitively balanced and had a really high skill gap and all that stuff. It wasn't as dynamic, so it has been
right. They look like they were even like Halo 5 you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Even the maps in Halo 5, like I went back and watched a bit of Halo 5 highlights, like the LCS, HCS stuff, and even the maps, they look like they were made primarily for competitive play where they're not as lower filled. There's not as many minor things. There's exactly what things are, where it is, blah blah blah.
Yeah, they are. It was, and so part of me is like kind of like really just trying to evaluate this a little bit differently because I'm thinking about that way because I love that one. I love this one. This one's definitely bringing in people that haven't been part of the Halo multiplayer community in a long time. People on my friends list that really didn't even think they were going to be playing this are playing it, and that's kind of interesting, seeing that even if it's not a primary game, they're like, the Call of Duty guys are like, oh yeah, I'll probably be popping in here once in a while. Let me know when you're on, that kind of thing. And that's to me what's been the biggest takeaway. And I think we talked about it even with the tech preview, but even more so now that it's been out, that everybody's really delved into it. I think even more than the tech test because of the hype, the initial hype cycle. How many people have said, "Man, yeah, this really is fun," and it's just like that energy back around it. It's like every time I go on at night, there's still lots of people on my friends list that definitely a lot more than 5 at this point in time that are still playing it. I think some people are probably taking a breather for a few weeks, waiting to see what they're going to do with playlists and things like that and progression, because some people do really, really care about,
how fancy they look.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, whatever gets people involved. I want them to get that right because those things, they are important to some people. Right?
The game deserves to get it right. You know what I mean? The team made such a phenomenal playing game.
Yeah. And that probably is what bums me out the most about that aspect, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But they really, because they've nailed this. Probably, this was probably the most standout that I'm here. Like, and again, this is subjective, but just kind of paying attention to what the mind share is and how people are talking about it. Maybe the most energy around a multiplayer releasing since. I mean, outside of Battle Royale, maybe Overwatch. I don't know. Like, it's been a
Since,
while.
like, Apex, I feel like you could
Yeah,
say.
yeah, Apex.
you know?
Apex did have this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that since Apex, this is the thing. So, so that's really been. I mean, that's been the main thing for me is seeing that again, hearing people kind of yelping and pulling off cool things. And that's the other thing that jumps out is that's the one thing that's way different than Halo 5 is those moments, like even in. And you mentioned Behemoth. That's why I like that map. Even for like deathmatch, 4v4 deathmatches, you get that skewer and there's somebody coming at you in a vehicle and you turn around, you pop it, and you just watch it. Those physics kind of at play, and it's just like you see one of those things, and it's like that just made the whole night worth it, right? So, so things like that have been pretty awesome. How about, have you guys seen any like really cool thing? I know we've seen stuff on Twitter. People are posting stuff that's pretty wild, but like anything kind of jump out to you, like, or is it mostly just kind of things we've already been seeing on Twitter?
People like Jeff Grubb and Mike from GamesBeat, who are not big shooter players. They're not normally playing Xbox games. They're big time into Nintendo stuff. But almost every night I look and I see them both online playing for hours on end. Like this is hitting harder with the gaming journalism community. It's hitting harder with just more than I've seen any Xbox title do in a long time. That wasn't one that they had just recently bought, like Minecraft or something.
And it's not just a racing game, right? So it doesn't have that excuse.
Like this is getting a different crowd longer than Forza did, because Forza got a ton of people, and there's going to be a healthy player base for a very long time. Age of Empires 4 got a good amount of people, but RTSs are RTSs, and they have a very dedicated fan base. But this one has felt the most, or you can go back to Psychonauts 2 and Ori and stuff like they're great games, but they're just smaller. Like this is their biggest IP, and their biggest IP is hitting hard, which is something just completely different.
People have mentioned
it, homegrown IP.
Yeah, people have mentioned it where they're like 343. Honestly, like their problem. I don't want to say happy, but when you compare the problems Infinite has to the other major launches of FPS launches, right? Exactly. It's 343's probably thinking, "Whew, we can get this. We can do this."
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was
the New Zealand trick for. I did the New Zealand trick for Battlefield 2042, and I got to play it on the Thursday before it released in early access, and it was super fun. And it worked great. And then I tried to play it that Friday when it released in early access to only people that bought the $80 to $120 version. And it was just on fire.
The server issues?
Jesus Christ. Yep. It was terrible. And then it was way worse on full release. And I'm like, holy crap. How bad is Halo going to be if, Battlefield's a pretty big game, but Halo's going to be free to play. And then Halo hit, and I haven't had more than 2 minor issues. It's been pretty crazy.
That's what I was going to say, is that the fundamentals have all been pretty much, perfect. It's, the progression and all these things that comparatively speaking are much easier, much smaller in the grand scale of things. I mean, because we aren't having the same conversations about map diversity. We're not having the same conversations about the mechanics being having too many barriers for players. Like all the things that make a game fun are already good and already there. So,
and they've nailed things previous Halo games hadn't, like equipment. Right. They really did. Other than drop shield, which I still think is kind of useless in multiplayer, every other piece of equipment is useful.
I use it all the time.
Really?
It's very good for blocking if someone's going for you with rockets or something. Like it has really good use cases.
That's interesting.
Grenades, explosives. It's also, it buys you that additional second or two that you need.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense with grenades. Also, the cool thing with Infinite is that we're literally where we are right now, and I'm not sure if any of you guys are watching the pro scene at all, but you can see the meta being made, updating in real time as we.
It's like a sport, or like it's fun to watch. Like just because there's so and it's like it's like when you watch sports. There's like the things that you see you expect kind of play to play, but then occasionally you just see like these amazing plays, right? Like that only a superstar is going to pull off. Only like a LeBron can do, or something like that. And but what's so neat about Halo is that like I guess like any even what is they like, even a blind squirrel can like you keep trying things enough. Occasionally, you're going to pull off a superstar move, right? And I think that's what really just kind of that being out there. Like, I think one time I accidentally repulsed somebody's grenade back at him. I was like, oh my God, I feel like a superstar. Like I dunked on you.
I got one rocket repulse back that didn't kill the guy who shot it, but killed his teammate next to him. And I really
counts.
But I was still fighting so much that by the time I made a clip, I didn't get it. No.
Oh man, I got an overkill, which feels amazing in arena. It's like I'm not sure if I doubt any of you guys if you ever played League, but it's like getting like a penta, which is you single-handedly killed all 5 people. So overkill feels amazing.
Yeah,
my best moment is still skyjacking a wasp over that big hole in high power.
No,
which I didn't even know was there until that happened, and then he just like fell to his death. I was like, I'll take it.
There's been some funny things. There was a time on Behemoth where I stole a Banshee. I didn't know how to drive it. He stole it back, and he didn't know how to drive it, and I stole it back. It was like, it was I was grapple jacking but when I was driving it, it was really low to the ground, so he just kept jumping back on it. So it's just crazy stuff like that. So yeah, it's been pretty damn awesome. And yeah, like that equipment, you start to, like, we felt it in the tech test, but even more so now, like with the more hours you play, the more opportunities you get to see just, some of the dynamic things that it adds even to 4v4, right? Like, somebody using the and people figured out now how to use the grapple shot and the sword, pretty effectively. If you're playing Slayer with somebody who's very good with those things, you're in trouble.
Or the thruster, it's so powerful. In terms of like those mobility moments, I've killed people coming at me with the sword, just one thrust back at the right moment, couple shots and they're dead. It's just
because they're not expecting it now. Like in Halo 5, you were kind of looking for that, waiting for that. Now when you do it, it just they're discombobulated a lot of times.
I still find myself pressing X though. Sometimes like get inside the door, and no, there's no trust. What do you guys think of the map count? 7 arena, 3 big team battle.
Well, let's get into some of the opportunities. I do think it's still kind of low right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's just because it's been 6 years, and all the indications has seemed like the multiplayer was ahead than the campaign. That I mean, and I know 10 is standard, like 10, and so I don't know. It's kind of a toss up for me. Like on one side, I know 10 is standard, but on the other side, it's
it
on
feels
the light
low,
side,
like just in terms of numbers. Yeah.
I think it's low, and it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal if Big Team didn't just have 3.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Like, and again, like if they're gonna insist on having launch in the other packs, just make that like everything. Put that on everything, so that at least there's 4 in Big Team battle. But yeah, I think it's a bit low. It's especially considering the length of development.
Yeah, and my gut feel. Some of this I can rationalize because you want to give people some time to learn the maps. I think you can overwhelm them. I think when people were rumoring like what they were doing with the data mining, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to have 23 at launch." I'm like, "No, they're not." That doesn't make any sense because people want to. They're going to want to learn what's there before they kind of bring in some new things to have to learn.
Yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. But Jesse, Dan, you guys have been kind of quiet.
Yeah,
I would just say so that I can talk.
Because he's got a tail in his mouth. It's hard to talk.
I'm fine with what it is now. It'll depend on if they are going to wait until May to add more.
Yeah,
because the first 3 months these maps would be fine. If you can even add in just one big team battle map before season 2, then I think that would probably be the best. I don't need more arena. I really want to learn them. And I also had an issue with Battlefield 5 where they kept adding in maps and they just kept adding them and kept adding them.
And you
eventually
never
I could barely got the ones I wanted to be on. Like I loved these 6 maps, and then I'd have to wait through. Well, those matches could be 45 minutes. I'd have to wait, and half the time I played, I didn't get those maps. So I'm fine with lower map count if the maps are great. personally.
That makes sense. Basically, what I'm echoing to. I see you still find that cat, Dan. I'm like,
I've done everything I can to keep these cats out, and they always find a way.
But I'm actually kind of happy with 7 Arena. It feels to me like this was the cream of the crop, you know? Like they probably had a lot more maps in development. They're probably still working on them, but they're like, let's take the best of the best we have. Because honestly, other than launch, which even launch, if you play One Flag on launch, it is a phenomenal map. In my opinion, it's well designed. There's clear defensive points, clear attacking points. It's 100% made for that mode.
Mm-hmm.
And my only problem with Behemoth is in ranked because there's no vehicles, so the map feels a little big.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the maps are so polished, and Jesse's right. You need time to learn them, you know. And I'm not sure if you guys have checked it out, but there's so many random jumps you can do that, like in every single map. I was just watching a bit of the HCS, and someone just did a jump I was practicing for like 30 minutes earlier. And I'm like, damn, what the heck? I don't know. A big team battle, I admit, needs one more, but I feel like they might not have wanted to put another that location map. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say that's the
because
thing.
the campaign.
Just in general, because the setting would be the same for a 4th map. I feel like that might have been a little too much for them.
Okay.
For that area.
Were you saying?
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, maybe an additional battle, big team battle map would be great. The biggest problem that I think, it's not really a problem, but I think they've been extremely transparent about their plans for, for the game entirely, except for what is the release cadence for new maps and how will that be delivered? Is that going to be delivered in tandem with new seasons?
Guns,
or
right? Are they adding new guns? Like,
well, based on previous waypoints, I think they said they were.
They should.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. Yep, they've already come out and said
that was like one of the things. Whenever people were complaining about the shotgun missing, that was like one of the earliest ones.
But you got to be so careful with that, right? Because that's you messing with the meta, and if you it's risky.
Like on that note specifically, it is kind of. I do think that there should be a one shot. Like there's not as much of a defense against something like the sword or hammer.
Yeah,
without like a one shot shotgun. Because you have the shotgun, which is also a close range weapon, and you're still at a disadvantage and within that range. But you do have to be careful with that.
The one thing I did notice was the sword has like no ammo. Is it 3 kills? I think, and then it's gone. Maybe 4 at most.
What?
Yeah, when you pick the sword up, it has maybe 40% energy. You kill a couple people, and there goes the sword.
No, I picked it.
From what I know, I might be thinking of ranked. But
yeah, I would say I think on standard
and like big team and stuff, it's 100.
Big team, it's full for sure.
Okay.
But ranked, I know for sure I've gotten like 3 kills and then it's gone. I'm like, okay, that's kind of sad.
Well, you can do some. They reduce everything like the rocket ammo.
Rocket's only 2. Yeah.
2. Yeah, it's you can do some major damage with power weapons in there, and so I think they want to reduce the impact of those, which makes sense. Because it's still. You can't single-handedly win the match just based on
you have to balance
just
it out.
gives you a little bit of advantage. I mean a lot of good points. For the maps, I think it's still a little bit like I wonder if they're trying to surprise or hold something back maybe for the official launch. But either way, it's fine for now, but I think it will. I think by May that could age if they're gonna keep it going that long.
Yes,
and Halo 5 really didn't even make you wait that long. I know this isn't Halo 5 and this is free to play. It's a different.
Wasn't a lot of the Halo 5 maps though forged maps?
Reskins.
Yeah. That was the big team battle maps.
They had developer maps early on. They started to go. Yeah. They started to turn a lot of forged things after a while. But like why you'd think after all this time, some of those developer made maps kind of came and then they pulled them out of the rotation. So I even forget some of their names. I'm thinking.
Well, several of them were actual they were just mirrors of themselves.
Yeah.
Yes, so like Red Plaza. What's that map called? The blue one?
I can't remember anymore. I mean, I'd have to load up. I played so little of actual PvP on Halo 5 over the past.
I played a lot, and I'm just and my brain is just not working. So
Halo 5 has 2 really good maps, right? You have Plaza, and then you have the other one. I just can't remember the name of the other one. Some of the sea.
I do remember there was that one map that was kind of like streets, wasn't it? Or was that Plaza?
Yeah.
Is that the one with the
Yeah,
neon lights
that
and
was-
stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Plaza was like recharge. I felt.
I would say there was a very similar one to Streets in 5. I think it may have just been called Streets. I can't remember.
Yeah, that one.
I was going to say
cool.
on the map count too. I think the other thing to keep in mind too is that everybody's launching with a really small amount of maps. I mean, you look at Battlefield 2042, and more than half of them are basically just like upgraded versions of old, Battlefield Bad Company 2.
I'd still be happy with that though. I thought Call of Duty and didn't they both launch with like 20 maps, or am I?
No, Battlefield 2042 has maybe 13.
Oh,
It definitely does not have more than.
or was it
And
Call
again,
of Duty
like
that launched with 20, which I don't know how the quality is on those 20.
The way that Battlefield 2042 launched is their new 7 maps are essentially like 4 or 5 smaller maps
Yeah,
made
Right.
in one big area.
those are so big.
right.
They're enormous, but they have nowhere
still one
near the.
Yeah,
Honestly, playing through Halo, they have nowhere near the detail that Halo's maps do.
yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I think the maps in Halo are much better than what I played at Call of Duty or Battlefield. I haven't even played Call of Duty.
You're right, by the way. It was Vanguard. They launched with 20 maps, 4 of which were for a new game mode, and 16 of which were for the normal 6v6.
Yeah, but again, I don't know how good or
Right.
bad they are. I just
Yeah.
a couple more, That's
Yeah,
all. That's all. I'm not. all
Overall,
I
I
can
think they've done a good job with these
Yeah.
ones. They do seem like they're all going to last, because that's the one thing I noticed. With I'm looking back at the list of the Halo 5 maps, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a developer made map that was pulled from the playlist. That I'm looking like Molten, Overgrowth. Like they had a few of them. There's some other ones I could look.
Call
Were
of
they
Duty,
just
by the
not
way,
good
was-
maps?
One else.
Some of them looked nice. I liked a
They
few
just
of
didn't
them.
play well.
Wow.
Yeah, but I guess the pros or whatever, just like they wanted them, they weren't balanced or weren't, and so they got pulled after a while, and so then you just got down to, a pretty. I guess it could come across as a boring selection over time.
Yeah.
Whereas these, I feel like these are all going to hold up. They seem to all have their place. Like
Like,
you
it was
mentioned
definitely
that-
on purpose. Like they didn't release a 7 because they didn't have any more made. I feel like they definitely picked that number. Like, this is what we're going with for launch.
Right, and they're like thematic. They're both thematically and objectively different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not just the same. If you were to blow them up and put them on a 3D map, they're not just the same progression. They're not just the same corridor corners, all that kind of stuff. They're unique, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially since this is a beta, if it's just as much about gathering the data to see which maps they release next, something like that. But it would be nice to know what their plan is.
Yeah, that'd be nice if they could share, and
Like a
obviously we didn't
roadmap
get.
or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Especially
wonder-
as transparent as they are.
With how much they've talked about doing it in a healthy and sustainable way, with the Thanksgiving holiday hitting, and they weren't doing it. They gave people time off. No one there. Getting back to it this week. Christmas not that far off. I do wonder if they're just trying to see what they can do in time.
Yeah.
Because they're going to launch. They probably expect launch to be huge. Got to keep everything working and not broken. Then if there's anything broken with the campaign, like there's going to be so much that I wouldn't be surprised if it takes us maybe a little bit of time to get a full roadmap, because they seem to really want to know what can we do before we announce anything again.
Yeah.
Well, I think
they're
right
in analysis
now.
mode.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say they're just in analysis mode at this point. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, at least multiplayer team, their major focus is just the day one launch.
Yeah.
Whatever they can fit in from this beta to official launch.
Like, I know people say, hey, it already came out for the 15th, but that's not how it works for people that aren't us, the people that aren't locked and loaded in every little piece of Halo news. You know what I mean? You guys have seen the TV spots, you've seen the launch trailer, that little ad, that 30-second, 40-second little clip on YouTube, that's going to be playing at every UFC event, every NBA game, you know what I mean, for the next week or two. That's just going to get this casual audience to realize, hey, this game's out, and hey, it's free. You know what I mean? So the 8th launch is still going to be really big for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how big that's going to be and the pop you're going to get on that. All right, so we talked about the maps, yeah, I do think we'll probably just kind of beat a dead horse at that point, but yeah, they are much better. I'll just say this, like from somebody who did play a lot of Halo 5 on the arena side of things, they're definitely going to hold up better. Yeah, over 2,000 hours. Yeah, I look at that. I look at all those hours. And I'm like, I could have had a doctorate. I could have learned like some sort of like. I mean, I could have learned anything in 2,000 hours. Man, I might be the smartest. But instead, I'm the dumbest person here. But anyways, like, I barely know how to get signed in week after week, even though we've done this for a year and a half. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to from that standpoint. You look at sort of like the attention to detail that they put into some of these maps in the way, not just like aesthetically, but just the way they play, how different they play, and even listen to the developers talk about them when they're saying like, yeah, this is really an ideal one for like Oddball. This is an ideal one for, one capture the flag, and just sort of like, just it's exciting to kind of see where they're going to go with that. So my gut feel, there's been no leaks or inside information on this. They probably are holding stuff back. They know they need to keep some stuff in their back pockets, and hopefully they don't wait till May to put that all out there. Yeah. I guess we do need to address one of the elephants in the room, which is not like even it. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the progression. Mm-hmm. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. I know some of us are more or less passionate than others. I found myself caring a little bit more than I thought I would, because I've never been. I mean, I had over 7 million rec points at one point in time. I didn't really spend them. I didn't care about that part of it. But
so did you say 7 million?
Yeah.
7 million.
7 million. I didn't really like. I wasn't really into. I like to go in with a really basic bitch Master Chief, and and like go in there looking like a noob, and and it just surprise people. I don't know. They really didn't probably pay attention.
I like the Rex primarily because of Warzone and being able to actually call in the vehicles that you wanted to.
Yeah, I played Arena mostly, but
my experience was usually get a really nice weapon and then get run over the moment.
Get a really nice weapon and instantly lose it.
That's why I didn't like Warzone. It was like,
see them come, go back to my body, pick it up, and move. Like,
but spending one of your good things. Like, I didn't play Warzone that much, but spending one of your good cards in Warzone, to me, I would get the same feeling as I would whenever I'd spend any money at a casino. It's like, why did I knew that was going to not work out. It didn't work out. It went exactly as I thought.
Just play like I
never do that again.
Just play like I do. When I die and lose my weapon, my wife would come grab it and then teabag me. So,
no, dude, old games especially conditioned you to hoard any kind of consumables. Period. Right. Yeah. So using the consumables, like, man, is it worth it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So let's start off with that. I wanted to say this, contrary to somebody that was arguing in our Discord about this. I am so happy that the rec system is gone. I was not a fan of that. Mm-hmm. And just what I was saying there, that sort of randomness, and tying it into a game mode. So that's gone. That's a positive to me. They can fix this, but this isn't good right now. I have found myself sort of caring a little bit more just because, I decided to buy it just because I needed to see what it was about. I didn't really care about that. Well, first of all, they make you look a lot more basic in this one than they did in any other Halo.
Okay, I'll say this. The Mark 7, everything that you unlock in the campaign that we saw in the previews is for Mark 7. Your Mark 7 will be blinged out if you go search around for the Mjolnir lockers in the campaign.
Actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, everybody.
Yeah, that's some insider information.
Are we allowed to say that? Or okay, I guess
that was in the previews. I'm just saying what I watched in other people's previews.
Oh, good. Yeah. You're right.
What are you implying, Abe?
I couldn't remember like whose preview.
Where you watched it?
Video. I couldn't remember whose video I saw that in. That's all. There's
a bunch of Mjolnir lockers in the very first open world area of the game that they were allowed to talk about in the previews.
Actually,
which, an area I've played now. because you can talk about that. It's those first 4 levels. The first few, everyone's seen parts of the preview, so I'm shocked at how many spoilers they allowed in them for the story, but it's not bad in retrospect. So if you watched anything and you feel you were super spoiled, don't worry. But I don't think it's anything too huge. The more I've thought about it, but yeah, littered around the maps and campaign, if you haven't seen, are these little. Whenever you unlock the fobs, it appears like you get a group of icons close to them, or you can just find them if you're running around. Some people talked about like they just found Spartan cores and Mjolnir lockers that weren't on the map and stuff like that. And those are unlocks for the multiplayer Spartan. And it's like weapon coatings and emblems and vehicle coatings and armor coatings and stuff. I don't know that there are any like armor pieces because I think the cores, if they ever do like a chief core or something, I don't know what that might be tied to. Maybe beating it on legendary could do something like that, but I think people have already seen the achievements and I don't think it does. So but yeah, you will get a lot more for your basic bitch.
I know the Mark 7 helmet is one of the final rewards of the first battle pass. I'm fairly certain.
I think that's kind of a neat tie-in I think so we haven't really discussed that before, but that is going to be a neat tie-in how they can start to blend in some of campaign and multiplayer.
There's something that Phil Spencer said on the Xbox Extra Life stream that they did. They pre-recorded it because they were going to be busy that specific day, but he played Halo Infinite for roughly an hour, like 50 minutes or so, while Joe Staten and Paul Crocker were there. And they're just talking. And one thing Phil mentioned, which was really interesting for that point of view, saying they can add things, is like he said, this is such a great canvas that we can keep adding things into. And he was talking about the campaign too. Yeah. So I really think that like Mjolnir lockers and stuff, maybe they could add those in over time, or they do DLC and there's more and more.
I hope they're careful with that. Like, because he said events, and I don't know if I'm a fan.
He's a Destiny player, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
What if it's like the MCC? You know, like the Golden Goose that's currently happening.
I know, but I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, I know, Dan. I read your mind.
What do you call it? FOMO being introduced into the campaign.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was challenge focused as much, like, because I don't know. I don't know like how replaying levels and everything is going to work. I'm not sure because it's a whole different structure now. But like the open world's always there. So if you can just add a few little things to do and it's not grindy, it's just something fun you can go and do and it lasts a while.
Like
I think it'd be okay. Yeah, if it really is something you've got 1 week and if you don't do it, it's gone, then I'd agree that it would be annoying as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the good news. We know that... the Halo community isn't ones to kind of sit back and just take whatever they are given. I mean, if there's one thing we've learned,
extremely objective and patient and kind.
Best community in gaming, period. Destiny can't compare.
Yeah, like that is the one thing. I've told this to my friends. I was like, oh, you're just a Halo guy. Of course, you're going to be all in on this and. It's like, you don't get it. The fact that you're a Halo guy means that you're probably going to be the most critical.
Yep.
We're going to end up talking about this more, I think, after we all get a chance with the campaign. But like, as somebody who says Halo is my favorite franchise, Halo CE is my favorite game, I've had major criticisms of every single game that's came out. At the time, and it's funny. Like a lot of them seem like they hold up better and over time than even at that moment, because at that moment you're just like, why'd you do this? Why'd you ruin, screw this up from the last game? That kind of thing.
I absolutely hated matchmaking in Halo 2. Hated it. Absolutely hated matchmaking because I love the server browsers. I love being able to pick what maps and game modes I wanted to play. And now it's the standard. And I'm, and obviously I don't hate it anymore. So like it's crazy how things change like that.
That's what everybody needs to remember too. When Mike starts bitching about something, it's like this is just temporary, folks. He'll get over it. And when they change it from this thing in the future, he'll bitch about that. So
yeah, and that retrospective nostalgia is like the pinnacle of our Halo to a T, right? It's like, you know, I've seen it every single time.
God,
like when
it's
Halo
not
Reach
nostalgia.
came out.
Yeah.
No, I mean like when Reach came out, our Halo was like Halo 3 was the best game ever.
Yep.
And then when 4 came out, they're like, no, Halo Reach was the best game ever.
Okay.
5 came out. Halo
they're doing
4
it
was I'm
again.
not talking about you,
Reach.
Mike. I'm talking about the general community and how they look back at every single game and they'll shit on that one when it launches, and then the next one comes out and they're like, well, this is crap compared to.
I still can't believe Halo Reach has the praise it does today. Because holy crap, when that game came out, people hated it with a passion. I was enjoying it, but
the campaign was. I mean, it was kind of like 4 in a lot of respects, and the campaign was really good. But the multiplayer, man, I mean, you mentioned armor lock, and everybody in this podcast knows exactly what arguments are going to be created from that, and why it's
garbage,
right? I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because like Halo Reach didn't even really get decent multiplayer until 343 did the title update,
right?
and then that made it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Oh man. No,
so I feel like this is a good time to transition. Although I don't know that we covered everything from the.
I don't think we really even talked about
the progression. Yeah, we didn't even talk about it.
Let's save that spot as a transition, and we'll come back to it.
Progression is too fast.
Honestly, it might be. It honestly might be. With the
I haven't played it since
at this point.
Recent changes.
You can get a level. You can get like 3 levels in an hour pretty easy.
Yeah, I went from level 17 to 23 with just 1 EXP boost. That's it.
Does it? It slows down though the higher you
after
go,
6
right?
matches. So basically, 6 matches gets you 1 level.
Yeah. I know that
it's 1,000 EXP per every level.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a flat progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my issue wasn't as much about the speed. Although I mean, I guess I was thinking
the hyper specific challenges suck.
Yes,
they need to just be more generalized.
Yeah. My biggest issue is like you can have an amazing match and not be reflected in your, people
want to feel like what they did.
Yeah,
people want to feel like if they had a good game, it mattered in some other way. Somehow,
that's why you play ranked though. You have a good game in ranked, and your ranking will just blow up. That's really cool to see. I've seen that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Yeah, if you play ranked, you absolutely can. You're going to feel it, and that's because again, playing in ranked previously, to me, that was the progression, right?
Yeah.
What people are thinking about here. I like that number you got in Halo 5 was worthless because once you got up to a certain point.
The grind was
really, really slow.
The Spartan rank, right?
151 to 152 took as long as 1 to 150. I think.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And I wasn't even there after.
Yeah, I'm like 130 or something like that, and I'm just like I can't. No.
So that meant nothing.
I'm not able.
Yeah, that never to me that progression was just junky. It didn't mean anything. The progression was what's your rank when you're playing ranked. But and then people would save up for those rec packs for whatever. But in this one, I think it's more about the journey than it is about the speed of it. People just want to feel they're connected to it. Even now, it's like now it's going faster, and you're gonna get your flaming armor sooner than if they didn't add this stuff. But it's not as rewarding getting there, right? It's just. You didn't really do anything special for it, so I would like to see them add in, it's some bigger challenges, like just
in that interview, in that
play stream,
in the live stream, Joe Staten clearly stated that the challenge system is how they're doing progression for Season 1's Battle Pass. Like he made it clear. Yes, we're using the challenge system for Season 1. Like he said it in a way that made me feel like the thing they are working on is most likely going to be a more XP later, which is probably a big part of why it was delayed.
And the thing that we've been talking about,
that makes sense.
an account, whatever you want to call it, a medal based type of reward system or something, that's going to take a bit more time to develop. So it makes
Yeah,
sense if that
that's
comes
what I
out in
want.
season 2.
Yeah, in the
But-
IGN
Yep.
interview, he mentioned the small rocks and the big rocks. And the small rock he can move quickly is just giving you more experience in the current system.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
big rock is a new system.
Rebuilding system. Yeah.
I mean, to kind of like bounce off of that, I'm also not a fan of how they've handled the events.
Yeah,
Like
that's bad.
spreading it out once a
Agreed.
month, and you have to
Mhm.
grind.
So I'm
5 out of the
holding
6.
my opinion on that for just a little bit, because if it's kind of
yeah,
like
sorry, I didn't even know if we were going to cover that, so I just
what?
wanted-
Oh,
no,
go for it.
I'm
No,
talking
he's
about right
talking
now.
about
What I'm saying is like for example, when the event first came out, the Tenrai, right? Tenra,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
whatever it is, the Fiesta event.
Tenrai.
I was annoyed
Yeah.
that it only lasted a week and you can only make it 7 things in. But if they do something like every other week, or ideally every week, but every other week they have a different event battle pass, a different game mode, and you're slowly making progression in all of them, I'm kind of okay with that. You know what I mean?
I just hope they don't make it a habit of tying specific game modes to these, because I feel like that's going to
No,
limit.
It feels like
what's
they
av-
are.
And
For
I
some,
know,
they
I
definitely
know.
Fiesta,
But-
Action
Yeah,
Sack.
they said Fiesta will be back in January when this
yeah,
event
I
ended.
know. I'm not.
Though
a fan
admittedly,
of it.
Fiesta's always been a limited game mode, even for
Yeah.
Halo 5.
Oh, was it?
I mean, not in. I mean, yeah, but not in MCC.
Not in MCC. MCC, I don't know
Okay,
if
so
we
that's
can.
and that's what I'm used to in MCC. So I
Yeah.
didn't know.
MCC is crazy.
So,
I don't know
like,
how
really-
they do it.
Really, just follow MCC. Like I know one was paid and one was free to play, but use
The playlists don't have to be
MCC.
different.
I'm sorry.
I know one's free to play, one's paid, but even there, like, I don't think the playlists don't have to be different.
Yeah,
because of that.
yeah, exactly. That's
Exactly.
yeah,
I don't
like,
think any game has
there's
the
so
sheer
much.
customization in what to select that MCC does. It's kind of ridiculous.
Mhm.
Exact game
No,
mode,
no.
exact size, exact game.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of it is that they're trying to filter people into specific hoppers so they can get data, so they can see
Yeah.
what the load is and all that kind of stuff, and also to keep, the loads really fast. But yeah, I think everybody here is in agreement that like just copy MCC.
Yeah.
You've got the playlists.
There's
there.
no
You've
2v2
got-
even yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I
right. Yeah.
and I thought the same thing. Like I was like, okay, it makes sense to have fewer hoppers in the beginning when the player
Mhm.
base is small, but that's
The
really never
Ursel
been a,
hopper's a word.
but that's never really been a problem in previous Halos where you had to pay
Yeah.
for it. So
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of had like an internal debate on that one.
At
But
the
yeah,
very
it's like-
least, they have to do is a Slayer only playlist.
Yes.
That has
Yes.
to happen.
yeah, just
Yeah.
separate Slayer, make objective.
And I don't
games.
even like
at
Slayer.
least
I want
do
that so they're out of my flipping objective game modes. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It's so that
it-
the people who just walk right by the damn oddball
Yes.
will go play something they can
so-
just shoot.
They either need a
Totally.
Slayer's
Ooh.
playlist, or they need to make Oddball the only challenge in the
Like
challenge. pack.
it's infuriating to see someone kill the ball handler or whatever phrasing, and then just walk away. I'm just like, what the
So
fuck
who's
are you doing?
next?
Babe, you're
Yeah.
talking about Halo moments. I recorded a clip where I had the ball, I died, and there were 3 of my teammates there, and they
Oh,
were
yeah,
all just walking by the ball. I'm like, come
Oh
on.
my God.
It's like that white as kids you know sketch where it's like the Call of Duty one. They're like, "Ma, I wasn't
Oh,
even there,"
yeah.
and it's just like looking around.
Oh
Oh,
man,
God.
yeah. The Oddball is always the worst one because that is just Slayer practice, right? It's gonna be Slayer practice to some distracted players.
Speaking of
The other
distraction,
teams- yeah, go
can
ahead.
they bring back the distraction medal, please? I love that medal. I would get it all the time
Yeah.
in Halo 5.
Yeah,
I got that all the time. That was like the only thing I was good at.
Right?
I was like, my teammate killed you
Distraction.
before. Yeah. Man.
I'm helping.
And the tactical ops event that's been data mined is
Hmm.
probably where we'll see SWAT. They'll call it tactical
No,
slayer.
don't put
Technical
SWAT
ops.
behind a
I just don't want
Thank
SWAT
you.
in there just to piss Nick off.
bastards. I like SWAT.
This is the next best thing. SWAT will come in and then leave and he'll get angry.
Oh,
But they also have like
God.
6 versions of SWAT with all the different one-shot to the head
You
guns.
guys are just
Yeah.
cruel.
To Nick, yeah. He's earned it though. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
probably did that to Nick, and he probably deserved it. So
Yeah.
I'm honestly hoping, like, not that I want anyone to be disrespectful or anything like that, but I really hope the blowback to that is pretty severe because that's
I
in my
don't think
opinion,
this
shit.
playlist stuff will last very long. I think they'll
Yeah.
get so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one of those big rocks that they're already working on.
There has
Yeah,
to be
because to me it doesn't make much sense, honestly. Like I think what
Yeah.
makes sense is what you were saying about collecting the data. Maybe you force people initially to some of these modes, just expose them
and I
to
could,
the dynamic. You know, it's because I guess, you know, if you only had them in Slayer, maybe you don't feel some when you play different sort of modes, it does change the way you see the game a little bit, the way you might try to play the game, and so I think it does add some variation. So maybe that's part of the strategy, but long term, it doesn't make any sense. And I don't really even buy the battle pass thing because, and I think that Microsoft knows, and maybe this is naive me thinking this. Like Halo's almost, I don't want to say lost leader. That's not the right, because it's going to make a shit ton of money. But it's not one of those things that you need to
penny pinch.
Yeah, penny pinch, because it is
nickel and dime, I guess.
Because it's going to drive. If this thing go, there's no reason that Halo doesn't continue to be one of the biggest multiplayer games of the entire generation through the entire generation. I'm not even just talking about 6 months from now. I'm talking about 3 years, 4 years from now. This should continue to be up in that conversation with everything. They have the foundation. We talked about the foundation a lot in previous shows. The foundation is there for this to be the best thing. Like this to be kind of sitting on its own island. It doesn't really have a competitor, right? There's nothing else that's going to scratch this itch. And even for people that it's not. Yeah, I mean, right. Split gate on those thumbsticks. Yeah, that's going to really replace this experience. But no, I think that that this is one of those games where it's like, make it as inviting to as many people as possible, and you don't have, and really you continue to do that. You don't need to worry about whether a playlist is going to, you're going to have enough players for that, right? Like you should be able to get that. Now, I do think there's probably, we've seen some, you mentioned earlier, like desyncing things. And I didn't even know what that meant until I read it. Like somebody said it on Twitter. I'm like, that's what I've been feeling all these years on my internet consistently. But now other people are feeling it too. So maybe that's hopefully a server side thing that they can resolve.
Squeaking.
Huh?
I hear squeaking.
Somebody's squeaking.
Oh, that's my dad. That's my cat. He's like,
that's you?
Yeah, he hears me on this, and then he needs attention somehow. He hears me talking to other people. He thinks I'm like, come on, I'm not a lonely old cat man. I got other friends.
Like with you saying that, Abe, it's kind of weird. Everything outside of the matches, the gameplay itself, it seems like it's what needs more work.
Yes.
Like everything within the game itself is really polished and well balanced, especially for launch. Like there's some balancing issues that they need to sort out, but it's really good launch build or whatever you want to call it. But it's everything outside of the game, like the menus, because like the flights, there was a good deal of glitchiness with the UI, and every blue moon you still catch a fraction of a pop. Some kind of little poppy glitch in the UI, and battle pass progression, all of that stuff is just like outside of the core game itself.
Like quick resume, for example, it's completely broken right now with Infinite. I always got to quit, start it again.
Yeah. That definitely needs to be fixed at launch. But yeah, it's weird. Like it's all the little things out. Same thing with like. I'm happy that we have something, but I think the theater mode needs, one, it's buried, and two, it needs to be.
I can't figure out how to play. I can't figure out how to find my damn player when I'm going into the theater. Like I can find everybody else.
Does it default on you? It did for me.
No, not on mine.
You can cycle through the players, right? Like
I cycle through the players, and it never shows mine.
I was.
I didn't hear about that.
You're just so bad. You're just so bad.
Need to really revamp that, like, because I love theater mode. I absolutely love theater mode. It's like going slow motion and stuff through the matches and being able to look at all the details and stuff. It's such especially when it comes to like content creation.
Seeing who's using head tracking, auto aim bots on you.
Aimbots,
slow motion.
That's another thing. Yeah, that's a good shout out too, though. They do need to fix that.
Yeah,
I'm hoping for launch we get an option to toggle between either input-based matchmaking or just console and PC. because
Oh,
there is a cross-play option there, but it's disabled, doesn't work.
Right. And
So-
even if you change it in the system to where your online privacy settings is set to only supposed to be Xbox, you
Mhm.
still get matched. Like I was playing a ranked match and I grabbed my phone so I could take a literal screenshot because it was from the guide. And if you pull up the guide and you see a player, it says they're on PC.
Oh
And it's
wow.
like that's
Yeah,
because you know it tells you
it's-
what system
you
you're on.
choose to only be on the Xbox network with that, but this game is always on the Xbox network. So no
Right.
matter where someone's playing,
It's
they're not going to get cut out of crossplay because that's only like, oh, if you're on EA servers for Battlefield, then you have to be on Xbox. Like it doesn't cut out anyone from PC with Halo, unfortunately.
Yeah, so hopefully they fix
cheated.
that.
it needs to be
I'm of the idea that I bet you almost nothing changes at launch.
That's gonna be really
Yeah.
good.
I could see that.
Because then
I mean,
all the excuses are
Yeah.
just like thrown in our face. They're
Mhm.
just excuses, you know, and it's like not
well.
based by the players, you know, because it
To
is
be
a
fair,
beta,
it's only
but-
us Halo fans that are trying to give them a benefit of the doubt that are making the excuse. I don't think they've said, "Hey, this is the beta to be." But I don't think they've said any of that. But
The only thing regarding launch is they said that this is like content complete, you know.
yeah, I do
What's
think
up?
there is probably
And-
more technical. There's probably more technical things were being worked out than. Oh, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that if anything, we've seen the past year worth of releases, even from studios that are known for making utterly polished gems, as we'll say. I think it's important to remember that, especially with Battlefield and Call of Duty's launches and their betas, respectively, that considering how smooth everything else is in this, that I think that there are some sacrifices that had to be made because of COVID. We can talk about how long it's been in development, but like anybody who's been on our forum, like some of the developers on their forum will always say, like they were also building an engine. You can't drive the car without your wheels, and that's essentially what the engine is in this analogy. But I think it's important to remember that the things that we're talking about aren't a flip of a switch. They do take time.
Yeah, I
And
totally
so I
get
think if they're not there at launch, like I'm okay with that because I know inherently, like I'm dealing with a build issue right now with something I'm working on at work, and it's like it took me a week and a half just to dive through the damn logs to figure out what the issue was, fix it, and then implement that. So I don't know. I think
and
okay.
that's fine. I'm not a fan of any, and I'd say the same thing about any game, any company, any launch. Don't launch it as a beta. Like I'm not like I don't want to normalize, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I don't. It to me, it's not acceptable, and it does happen. But I say the same thing. I don't find it acceptable for Battlefield. I don't find it acceptable for Call of Duty. I can't give Halo a pass because I'm more fond of that franchise.
I'm not talking
And I'm
about
not
giving
saying
it
that's
a
what
pass.
you're doing.
Yeah,
just-
I think
I'd be really disappointed if it was still a beta at launch, because if you need to launch something as a beta, delay it.
The wording is wrong,
delay it.
anyways. It should have been early access in terms of wording. Hey, you're getting the game 2 weeks ago.
And that's the
That's
thing.
what it
Like,
should have been worded as.
they framed it as a beta, like, and that's exactly it. They framed it as a beta
Mm.
with everyone with the clear understanding that this is a beta, and there's clear meaning behind that.
Yeah.
So if they launch it, if they keep it as a beta at launch, and I do agree that I don't think it's going to be this. It doesn't really need to be a massive update. Just a little tweaks, little bug squashes, like the quick resume thing, stuff like that. Like I'm hoping that they are prepping that stuff for launch. If not, I am going to be disappointed. Like that's.
I think my entire point though was that I've seen so many comments, and even some of what you just said are like, if we were talking about this in 2019, I would absolutely agree with you. But I think people still do not, if you're not in development and you don't, and you haven't had to make that massive shift working from home, and you don't have a lot of those intangibles of working locally are removed completely, and a lot of those efficiencies that are working. Like I was telling my friend last night when he basically said kind of the same type of thing, and I was like, dude, I'm working at home where I've got a 300 megabits down. It's never that. It's more like 150 down, maybe 20 up. I used to work in a lab that I had more than 200 times that. And for when I was uploading, and Microsoft's probably the same way. And we know that's the case with people like Jason Ronald and all these other people that are working from home. Like that affects the timeline. That affects your ability to do your job.
Yeah.
We can pretend like it doesn't all that we want, but
I'm not pretending.
developer,
I'm not pretending that it doesn't.
I'm
not.
pretending like I know.
I just delay it longer. Then I know that sucks, but I much rather just I don't. And I understand COVID. I do understand it. I do respect it, but I can still be bothered by it launching it as a beta. Like it, I don't think it's unfair to, want the best at launch. That's really all it is.
I
It's
think
nothing.
by beta they meant early access. That's the way it read. That's the way it was implied that on the 8th it's going to lose the beta status. I think Jesse's right. We're not going to see too many changes. And in fact, I was thinking back on one of your points, Abe, where you mentioned how this game is really open for newer players, right?
Yeah.
Like accessible. I feel like quick play is there because of that. I feel like the reason why the playlists aren't split up the way they are is because someone new will come in and be like, what the heck, Slayer? Okay, I have a bunch of different objectives I can do, blah, blah, blah. It's just one thing. You click quick play and you're in a match. You know what I mean? I have little doubt that the playlist changes will be coming. Little doubt. They'll definitely come. I'm not sure if they'll happen on the 8th though. Is my concern,
Yeah, and I think you're right. And the more I'm thinking about it, they've been on vacation for a couple of weeks, right? So how much are they going to be? You're not going to move a lot of big rocks in a couple of weeks.
1 week. It was just the week Thanksgiving weekend, I believe.
Really, if they just fixed the quick resume and added Slayer, I'd be happy. I'd be okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. In respect of the COVID issue, I'm not expecting major changes, just these little tweaks that I'm hoping that they can fit in.
At the very least, with quick resume, the game loads in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So at the very least, give me the option to skip the intro.
I'm new gen.
Right?
I wish that they actually did the thing that PlayStation had talked about, where they sometimes just completely skip all the intro cutscenes after you've already loaded the game before.
Yeah.
That would be really
That
nice.
is a
if
nice
they could do
feature.
that.
Even though I gotta say, I absolutely love the splash screen of this 343.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
It just screams high production value and
and the Xbox Game Studios, like, because they've changed it like 7 times in the past like 2
the
years.
Avengers style going for a little bit.
I like the Avenger style, but I kind of like this the most. I think that another small thing too is like, I'm jumping between 3 different setups, and I don't know, Mike, if you're the same way too, like, because you do the same thing. It's like I haven't been able to find the damn brightness selector post that first launch of the game. Like if you go into display, I'm almost legally blind, so I'm probably just not seeing it, but like I have not been able to find it. And so like once I set it, because it is like Gears and some other games like Red Dead 2, where it does save those settings somewhere on the console save itself, because like it saves those elements for each one. But if I need to change that because for example, that shitty Vizio OLED that I have just got an update that completely changed the gamma. And so like I've had to go through and modify all my brightness settings on my games, but I can't find it again on Halo Infinite. So like there's definitely some UI things that still need to be.
Looked at that. I never
There's going to be there's a lot of quirks, and I guess this is a monster pack. What I suspect Joe Staten has done is prioritize the biggest, most important rocks, and let's just be honest.
They literally say that.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. Those areas
are minor
compared to what we and it is relative, right? Like I know, like we like to look back at back in the day, in the year 2025, games but the games are just way more complex. They're bigger, they're ongoing. There's just a lot more moving parts, and I think that I do want to give because we're very good, like we mentioned before, we're very good at offering the opportunities and the criticisms. But I do want to just kind of re-emphasize it. I think that relative to what everything else we're seeing others be able to put out, This turned out to be when I go and play it, it's a very polished experience. There's
Yes.
not that many. There's not that many times where it feels like it, well, this has ruined it, and I'm just going to go back and wait until they fix it. I never felt like that, really. So hopefully,
I can't get prettier quicker. I guess I'm just going to completely ignore the fact that I'm having a blast playing this game.
Right.
yeah, because
Well,
but again,
The foundation's there.
I do think it's not that, because I'm right there with you guys, but I do think it's important to, I guess, keep in mind that like a lot of people play Halo for different reasons.
Some
people
absolutely.
do it because of some people do it because of the theater mode. Other people do it for the bling. Like I'm not a bling person either.
Yeah,
for the SWAT
infection.
Yeah.
We're not a monolith.
Yeah.
For some people play it for the SWAT because they don't know how to play regular Halo, and that's all they will play. No, you're
only true way to play Halo
in the custom game. No, you're right about that, Mike, and that's why like even the things that are not that important to me. That's one of the reasons why I want to see them, really kind of nail all these things over time. Because the best thing about the game is that it is one of those games that a lot of people come to it for different reasons, but they all come to it, and it is sort of like this, the energy around it, and it's kind of neat to have that on the Xbox platform again, because I haven't really seen that from like something that has that sort of social impact really since Halo 3, I think, since it's really neat to see that. Now I don't want to stay on this too much longer because I know we got a lot of campaign stuff we want to just kind of dive into, but do you guys have any final thoughts you want to
really quick? Last final thought was, I feel like for as many problems as the game has in terms of the cosmetic progression, blah blah blah, props is 343 for getting that EXP update out like really quickly. They tweeted on like Friday that we'll address it after the break. Monday evening they addressed it. Tuesday it's fixed. That was really quick.
That was. Yeah,
they're very agile.
Yeah, overall, like, because I don't play multiplayer much, a lot like Jesse and stuff. Like in the past, I'll play it with friends. That's when I would play Halo, was when friends wanted to play it. But otherwise, I was always a campaign guy. But I can, I've been playing, and I can see me playing Infinite by myself. But the great thing is, right now, there's always something to play with. It's like I'm not even forced to play it by myself.
The first time I've had people just randomly invite me ever. I'm playing Halo, and I have an invite from Tavish. Okay, let's play, and we play for like a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first time that you can find regularly people you like. It's like, I don't have to make friends with these
with randos.
Yeah,
with randos who can't play freaking oddball.
That is crazy that Jesse's keeping up with me, so he's going to try to beat me to 2,000 hours in this one, I guess. Just so I
haven't played a second this week, so you're probably
whatever. But anyways, all right, let's go. Let's talk a little about the campaign. So we talked about some of the unique opportunities, and even just kind of thinking about the campaigns over the history, like thinking about all the different campaigns that we've played. I guess let's kind of step away from the news for a minute, and I just want to kind of go around and hear from everybody, like if you have any special plans when this officially releases on the 8th, and like what memories you've had from previous Halo launches, things like that. So let's go. I'll start with you, Daniel, since I am usually not seeing you raise your hand.
Well, so my plans, I had planned to take the day off, but then my water heater exploded and ate up the rest of my PTO. So I'm going to be waiting until the evening to play while you guys are enjoying the wonderfulness that is Infinite.
That sucks.
But
it
does suck.
Thankfully, it is a 1 p.m. your time release, so it's not like you would have been able to play all morning too.
That's true. That's
really
true.
Fucking weird.
But
release time.
But every Halo launch I've had special memories. Like
a water heater blow. Oh.
I'm gonna move past that by the time the 8th is here. But like I think about 3 and ODST's launch a lot because I was working at Apple at the time, but it was an Apple within a Best Buy, so they were cool enough to let me like sit in the launch, and it was just, you know, the energy when Halo, like the line, and where I'm at there, I would not say we're a huge city by any means, but the line for Halo 3 and even ODST was huge, and so just getting to be there and feel the energy and you know, get to discuss with people like why they're here, what Halo means to them. Like those were some of the most special moments. And, you know, because with CE, my older brother and I, that was our, you know, one of our launch experiences was getting that, you know, to I had, by that point because I always had the really crappy Mad Catz controller. And then when 2 came out, I finally got, was like, I'm just going to buy a freaking, you know, S controller by that point. And I kept that thing, you know, until it finally died like 10 years later. And yeah, everyone's been special. I mean, I remember voting for Obama and then going to get Halo 4 because, you know, it came out on the 12th. And that was like the last day to vote or whatever. I mean, it's just, there's so many, or maybe it was the 5th. I don't know. I think it was the 5th. That's been too long. But yeah, I mean, whatever it was, I can't remember, man.
A lifetime ago.
Yeah, it was a lifetime ago. But yeah, it was just they've all been special. Like with this one, my plans kind of went up in smoke, no pun intended. But you know, my wife and I are going to be, because there's not normally since 5 came out, we went through co-op together. Since my brothers and I, you know, for obvious reasons, can't. And I don't know. With this one, we're just gonna grab some popcorn. She's gonna watch me play and just try to go through it as quickly as I can, so I don't get spoiled. So,
yeah.
Ursula, how about you, man?
In terms of launch experiences, I'm kind of boring here. Where like I was too young to really be waiting at malls and stuff. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
why you have the worst opinions on it. But
I was like 7 when Halo 1 came out. So
oh my god,
yeah.
My God.
I mean, I still played them close to launch. You know what I mean? I had the original Xbox. Halo
I'm still
2.
small enough to sit into a backpack with my parents waiting in line.
Wasn't Halo 1 a mature game?
So I can say it was mature a lot because it had blood splatter that stayed on the ground. And you'll notice in this game, when you shoot people, there is purple blood that comes out, but it disappears. And that's why it's team.
Oh yeah, I may or may not have just kept punching an elite body to fill the entire screen purple, and then it would like lag over when you walked over, and I used to think that was like the coolest thing. But no, in terms of actual launch memories, I mean, I never. It's purple. I never really played Halo Online much, right? So my launch memories are more or less launch, and more when I finally have the game in hand. So for Halo 3, for example, which is probably the one I was most excited for because I was really into the story, I didn't get to play it until like I think the next summer at like a friend's place who had a 360, and I'd go every day. I'm like, we got to play this. We got to finish this game, and yeah, a lifetime ago, right? I mean, that's what you guys said.
It's always interesting, like some of the memories that stick with you, like around games, right? Like the life memories you kind of attach to certain things, and like that nostalgia, you know, you can't really replace. You know, it's a hell of a drug, man. Mike, how about you, man?
So for launch, I have the day off. I have the whole week off, and I'm going to be grabbing my Doritos, my Mountain Dew, my Monster Energy drink, and just like
you're like going all 360 all out, man.
Oh yeah. And I'm just I'm sitting down and I'm turning everything. The rest of the world is being shut off, and I'm just gonna be like diving into it.
Extreme Mike.
Yeah. I cannot wait. Like, and so regarding the history, I didn't have Halo CE at launch. I got it. I got my Xbox like a month after launch because I didn't expect it to sell out, and it did, at least in my area. And so I got that, and I got DOA 3. Halo it was kind of on my radar, but my first experience was at a kiosk, and I was just on the Halo ring, and I didn't have any context of what the hell I was doing or where I was, so I didn't really, it wasn't a good first impression. And then it was within the first week, my best friend is like, you got to get this Halo. You have to get this Halo. and I don't remember what. It's been so long ago, but I remember it was a pain in the ass getting it. I don't know if like my car broke down or something like that. I think my car broke down. And I remember telling him as I'm putting it into the Xbox, I'm like, this better have been worth it. And the opening, and I'm a huge Aliens fan. You know, you can see like the Japanese aliens painting thing up there. And it's just, I instantly, right from the intro, I'm like, okay, I'm in love. I love it. And I remember us taking turns playing through the game on Heroic. And then once we beat it, we just played co-op like religiously. Halo 2 was there at launch. I went with a handful of friends. We had like a Halo 2 launch party. And same thing like what Daniel mentioned earlier. It was awesome sitting there for the midnight launch for both Halo 2 and Halo 3. And I think it was a Babbage's at the time.
Oh my god!
Brings back memories.
Nice.
Yeah, it was either like a Walden
Wow.
Software or a Babbage's, something like that. It wasn't an EB. And they had they came out. So someone ordered pizza, and I think it was Halo 3. Someone brought a OG Xbox and had Halo 2, and we were just basically playing games in Halo 2 on a TV that they had like out in a fold-out table. And Halo
That's
3,
awesome.
same thing, launch party, awesome night, bunch of friends, bunch of people outside. We played through campaign co-op, legendary, right? The all four of us. And the key to playing like co-op at launch is finding friends that shut the hell up at the cutscene.
Yes.
You know, like they care
Yes.
as much about the story as you do.
Yep.
And Halo 4, or no, Reach, ODST, same thing with those. Got those at launch. I remember Reach particular was pretty awesome because that's when I recently moved down where I'm at now, got promoted, like a lot of changes. So that I kind of associate that with that. 4 was awesome. I remember getting that at launch again. That was like kind of like a weird moment because of 343 and everything. And
Yeah,
I was really happy with that. I even had fun with the multiplayer at launch until I realized
blasphemy. Heretic.
yeah, until I realized I got old. 5, I was not there at launch with 5. I didn't even have an Xbox One. I got that a year later, give or when did 5 launch? What was it?
2015.
2015.
15, yeah.
So I didn't get my Xbox One until 6 months later or something. So I was about 6 months late, but I did get it when I got my Xbox, if that means anything. And that was fun. That was cool. So this is definitely like a return to form, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was definitely a different feeling when 5 came out. It just felt like there wasn't
It was the Xbox One. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
5 had the baggage of the Xbox One going with it.
I feel like that.
definitely. Yeah.
I feel like I still will, forever say that I still think the multiplayer will go down as one of the most underrated or maybe overlooked, under talked about multiplayers because of all the negative energy that really impacted the community and everything else. So fortunately, that's not happening this time. Justy, what about you, man? Like any what's your plans? Well, I guess that's yours is going to be a little bit different. But let's just talk about your fond memories.
Yeah, I mean, 1, we got it, I'm pretty sure, at launch. 2, we had at launch. I probably played through them split screen co-op with my brother for 1, 2, and 3, like a combined 200 times. I wouldn't, and I don't think that's overstating it. Just 1 alone. Living on our own, didn't have a ton of money. Had Halo, loved playing it, did some LAN parties with friends and family, but a lot of that time was just playing co-op together if we were playing video games. 2, we got day 1. My Xbox Museum thing is literally day 1 login for all that. 3,
Wait, did Xbox Live launch with Halo 2?
No, it came out 2
Yeah,
years
after.
earlier. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're saying
Wait,
you
sorry.
first
Halo.
made the account
Yeah.
with Halo 2.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
3. 3, I don't remember. I remember playing it. I don't exactly remember what the whole setup. If my brother's still awake, he's an old man now. I don't know if he's still up. He might say it in chat. By 4, I had moved, so I was down here in Florida. I don't 100% remember. I think we saved up. We got a 360, and I got it and played the shit out of it. But 5 was the big one because my wife was right there. We got her the Halo 5 Series X, or Series Xbox One.
Xbox One, yeah.
Yeah,
I tried
remember
getting her
that.
the Series X. I couldn't. Yeah, so we got the Halo 5 Xbox One. I got the Elite controller, first one, and we played through that campaign co-op with my brother up together, the three of us. And, one of my favorite memories because the story wasn't always the best, but on the whole, I still love playing that campaign. And that is still my favorite memory from the co-op side of things. I got to remember when to turn this footage off. We get 15 minutes a level. Yeah, so it is definitely a very different experience because other people have already said it. I've beaten this campaign for Halo Infinite, and I've so my plans are now going to be on launch day, since it was so successful last time, mostly playing Master Chief Collection, which Dan, you were a part of back in early November. On launch day, I'm going to do day 2 of the extra live stream. See if we can hit a grand, which would be really cool because we're at 675 right now, which was way more than I thought would be. We'll have another giveaway from Tavish. He's doing either that Halo Lightbox again or the statue of the Forerunner energy pylon thing, which I don't think he actually has been selling for a while. It's just when he has. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I did the whole thing on Heroic originally. Obviously, can only talk about the first 4 levels and the first open area. Heroic's pretty hard. I died a fair bit. You still feel pretty powerful. Even though you don't get every ability, you don't get every upgrade, obviously, you still feel pretty good. Enemies are not spongy. And then going through on Legendary in those same early levels as well, they're still not spongy, but you're definitely not spongy anymore. So I am thinking I might try Legendary on the live stream.
You should.
Yeah,
you should, and then you can. I don't know how the donation thing works, but I've seen other streams do something where,
you die.
Yeah, something about you dying or something. Making some kind of meta behind it, and then trying to encourage donations based on the meta game.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to look into it. We've just got the one incentive right now, which is the giveaway, but it'd definitely be cool to brainstorm some more. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I am sad about co-op like everyone else. Seeing even just the first few levels, you'd be like, oh, this would work co-op. But once you hit that first open area and you see how it is and you see what the progression is like, I get what John was talking about, where I understand it in the preview area. Like I can tell this is so different and everything's so big, even in this very first open area, that it's probably going to be a lot of work to make it all sync, even just outside of figuring how it's going to work.
Yeah, it needs to be more Borderlands, less State of Decay 2, right?
Yeah,
and there are some reasons, and we'll come back to that too, because I have a couple other topics that we want to touch on.
Wait, have you done
what about
yours?
Borderlands and
OBM?
State of Decay 2?
Oh, sorry. I was saying is Halo Infinite should be more Borderlands and less State of Decay 2 when it comes to the cooperative aspect.
Oh,
right. Borderlands is pretty free roam. You can do what you want to do. It's still one quest. I'm pretty
and
sure
people get.
I misheard you at first, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I started having like palpitations. I'm like, no,
yeah,
no
just
Borderlands.
More in the also State of Decay 2 had really bad synchronization issues at launch. I remember that being atrocious.
Oh man, State of Decay.
It's a lot better now.
So
Far
garbage.
Cry, yeah, like everything with State of Decay 2, way better than launch, but also not Far Cry-ish in the sense that everyone needs to progress in some way and not just have the host to do it and the other person's just to get something out of it, essentially.
I don't know if any of you guys played Dead Island.
Dead Island.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Dead Island. The progression in that was an open world RPG, and the progression was tracked for all players as long as you played at the same point.
Yeah.
And
we'll come back because when we talk about Staten's what he said about some of the game design stuff, I think we can tie that into some of the co-op stuff and add some light to that, because he did talk about that recently, right? Some of the changes
Abe, did you do your launch plans and your launch experience?
No, yeah, I might as well. Thanks for asking. Rehearsal. Yeah, so like for next week, I'm still working on my schedule at work. It's been a sprint, so I'm hoping I get to take some time off. It's actually been it's been more than a few games since I've actually been able to do that. Have a day and step away and do nothing but play.
Being adult sucks.
Being adulting is just is shit
overrated.
Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, you never realize how good you have it. It's not like in the old days, and it's funny. Like I've told the story maybe a couple times on this show already, but I might as well say it again. Like for me, the first time I ever saw Halo, it was on a kiosk. It was at an EB Games. I was me and my ex were looking at rings.
Were you blinded by its majesty?
More. I was blinded by that more than the rings. Yeah. So we were looking around. We were living together, and at that time, I was not working like a great job. I was like kind of scraping away to kind of save up. And but we were living together, and she was expecting. It was anticlimactic. We already knew it was going to be. It wasn't like she was waiting for a surprise. She was just waiting for me to like follow the process. get that damn ring. And I wasn't supposed to be spending a lot of money on a lot of other things because I didn't have a lot of other money. And at the time, I was actually coming from PC, and I saw the PC that was working all right. And I was a Half-Life fan. I was a PC guy. I wasn't super impressed with PS2 graphics at the time. I wasn't interested in consoles because, they didn't stack up to PC at the time. But I remember I went into an EV Games to kill some time after looking at the ring, and I saw the Halo CE on that demo, and it was Truth and Reconciliation when they're at that sniper point, in that level. And I don't know what it was about the atmosphere, something about that. I just like
music.
Stuck. Yeah, like
God,
and we'll have to talk about this because that is the thing. Like the magic of Halo, it's interesting because when I talk to people that maybe don't get it, like or maybe they're just they're on PlayStation, they look at the the videos. They're like, I don't see it doesn't look prettier than God of War, so why am I interested? The thing with Halo, it's never like this one thing that stands out. It's like how all these things just work together. It is probably in some ways it's Microsoft's most Nintendo-ass franchise, where it's like the refinement is what makes that thing work. It's not just the physics or just the gunplay or just the graphics. It all somehow comes together in some perfect harmony, and that's what happened there. Like when I think about Halo, that's the moment I think about, and it wasn't like there wasn't anything special technically going on there. It was just the way it all came together in that atmosphere. And I just remember going home and thinking about it. I was like, and then I was in the store, and this is when consoles were difficult to come by, and I saw the CE, the Halo CE and the OG Xbox bundle. I'm like, well, it's meant to be. And
I didn't buy the ring.
She comes home from work, and I'm like, hey, guess what? My parents got me an early birthday present, and I was going to try to figure out how to get cash for my birthday to kind of accommodate for that. And I was able to pull that off until she found Max Payne and Madden in the closet too. And she figured out I was bullshitting her. So that's like my first memories of it, and so then I got in trouble, so there was always that kind of hanging over my head. But then then I stepped out and you get dropped down to the beach, and it was worth it, and then besides that,
the relationship,
right? So by the way, don't do what I said. I just did. I was younger.
That's bad.
I passed. I think. What's the statute of limitations? So, and then the next one that stands out is Halo 2. And that was for different reasons. That was probably in terms of anticipation, I would say that was the most anticipated game in my gaming history. I can't remember ever counting down a game as much as I did at that time. If you remember, there was like all the I Love Bees stuff advertising going on, all the theories people had about the story.
That incredible E3 trailer that was completely real.
Completely bullshit
yeah.
E3, which you find out
that
later.
Trailer is what got me most excited for the campaign.
That trailer was the most amazing. That was the most amazing E3 moment of all time for me. Like the one that stands out, despite the fact that it was complete, it was just hocus
Lies,
pocus.
all lies.
It was lies, and it's kind of interesting, like looking at that relative to like what we've experienced over the last year and a half. But then it's standing in line and talking to people that were just super duper excited. That energy, you had standing for the midnight release. As soon as you got it, running home and jumping on there, getting on there with some friends. I went right to the multiplayer because I wanted to talk to everybody about it. And like you were saying, Mike, like that getting pulled into that matchmaking, I was like, whoa, what? Where's my playlist? But then you're like, whoa, that was kind of cool. Like too, it was like a weird thing. Like, at one hand, I felt like I had handcuffs on, but then at the other hand, I was like, well, that's kind of neat.
What was the Halo 2 matchmaking? What do you like? How did it work?
I mean, it is what it is now. Like,
It's what you know now, but that didn't really exist.
Yeah.
So why do it feel so odd?
Actually select your server and shit.
Because
like Halo 2 introduced that.
Yeah, you were used to going into selecting a
browser.
game.
And you just select your game. That people would host matches. You'd be able to select your map, your game type,
like Game Ranger stuff.
Yeah, and it just felt like control was taken away from me.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It was weird. It was almost felt like I was violated in a way, but at the same time, it was kind of it's like this is
That's a bit dramatic.
It's like I'm kidding. No, it was like it was something pulling because I was like, this isn't right. I'm supposed to be able to go in there and choose and look and then invite my friends over or whatever, but instead but then you kind of got it and you're like, oh, this is cool. I can jump in here and we don't have to like worry about trying to get people to come into the game. It was, it really revolutionized things. And to me, that's the thing that stands out most. And at the first level I ever played in the multiplayer for Halo 2 was Zanzibar, which was the thing they showed at E3 first. And it looked as good as the E3 thing. It was, like to me, that was like awe-inspiring when you saw the big, windmill and, so that those are pretty awesome memories, and the OG Xbox still stands like as some of the best memories I think for gaming for me, and Halo's a huge part of that, obviously. So so that's I kind of went long on that, but yeah, man. So obviously Infinite's coming, and this is a little bit different because this is we got the split thing, and I think that was a good idea. But I'm really looking forward to this campaign. I think this is going to be an opportunity for 343 if they follow through as maybe some have said behind maybe we've heard things behind the scenes. If they follow through, this could be their chance to really step out of Bungie's shadow, right, and claim the series and say that they are
Bungie's former shadow, you could say.
Former shadow, the shadow of what Bungie was.
They've been out of Bungie shadow for a while in regards of current Bungie, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're different. They're not the same thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
But still, when we look back at those campaigns, it is always the Bungie games that really. Well, I would not for you, everybody, but.
Don't worry, everyone. I skipped cutscenes. No spoilers from me.
Oh, okay.
I'm not watching any of the footage.
I'm not.
See it.
Honestly,
I'm only doing combat. I'm not doing any story stuff.
It's kind of weird because a few weeks ago, a month ago, what have you, I was like, man, I'm really starving for some campaign info, footage, trailer, or something. And now I feel like I've been overexposed in a way, like where to the point where
I don't want to see it.
I'm happy not seeing anything more. Like I was happy that there was audio of that Staten Spencer interview play because like I didn't need to see what he was playing.
That was further stuff than the previews. That was
I was fine not seeing anything more. That's what I heard. So
that's why I put it up as audio because I knew people didn't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. All right. So Jesse, you said you're thinking about doing a legendary playthrough. Let's go through everybody. What levels you guys going to be playing this thing on, and why are you choosing that? Let's see. Ursel, I'm going to ask you because you're used to playing this at co-op, right? Initially. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, kind of. And I like challenge in my game. You know what I mean? So like for example, if I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed Ori nearly as much as I did if I didn't play it on hard right off the bat, because it really made the entire game like a level better for me. But at the same time, I don't want to just keep dying, left and right. I started off God of War way back when I played it on the second highest difficulty, and it felt so unfair. It felt so like I die in one hit, one move, and I'm dead. Like no, right? So I think I'll probably do heroic. But maybe if it's getting easy, like if I'm too upgraded or something, bump it up. You can change the difficulty halfway through, or
I don't think so.
oh, okay.
I have to say the preview review build is very weird.
Okay.
So much is chopped out of it. I don't know.
Okay.
Because like it's a very strange, it's an odd thing. It's not just early access on the retail code. Because like it's funny, the retail copies were being sold early, and people were like, yes, I'm going to go home and play the campaign. And Microsoft's like, no, you're not. It's literally not available. Even if you put the disc in, it will not unlock the campaign.
That's cool. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's like, oh, you got to watch out for spoilers. And it's like, well, no, actually, none of the people that got it early can actually play. They can do the multiplayer, but that's it. Yeah.
That's the new times. So Jesse, you went through on heroic. By the way, well, I guess you can speak on the first 4 levels. This heroic versus the heroic people are used to, and I guess saying used to.
This can be definitely harder because I really do believe them when they said that they made it for normal to start as like the base difficulty. There are situations where heroic is really tough. Once you understand things better, through the first level or two, and like the footage I put up before, I was mostly learning and trying to figure it out. But they just start throwing the different variations of mods at you. And when I went through it again, like on easy and normal, just to see, you just get the basics for a while. So it didn't feel like they make it so that anyone has more health ever. It's pretty much always the same health pool. You just will see the more powerfully equipped variants of characters even early on in the game if you're on heroic or legendary.
So what you're saying is for people that want to play it through it for the story, that are somewhat good at games, maybe they would go down a level, or would they still stay on heroic?
Yeah, so it's going to depend. If you feel confident, I'd say heroic's probably fine. Just know that there are upgrades that even early in the game, it'll definitely feel like you're going to want to go get those upgrades in a way that I didn't feel when I was doing the first couple levels on normal.
Right.
Definitely on legendary, you want to just start hunting down upgrades because I was on the 3rd mission and just getting annihilated for a while.
Oh, that sounds good, because I did feel like 5 was pretty easy and relative to like something like a 2, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought
2 was unfair and 5 was really balanced around co-op.
Yeah.
5's the thing that made 5 hard was the fact that your freaking AI companions kept dying all the damn time.
Yeah.
Well, they're useless. I just counted them as dead as soon as I walked in the room in the legendary.
Like hearing about how it seems like heroic and legendary are tougher than in the past is really good news for me, because like it was one of the previews. They said that they consider the difficulty to be around Halo 3 levels. And honestly, I thought Halo 3 Legendary, especially in co-op, I'd say, was a touch too easy.
It's the easiest Legendary.
Like you basically had to have Mythic and what was that other skull? The one that upgraded all the enemies to like the highest rank, and the other one that increased their armor or something. But those two, I know Mythic was the one. I think Mythic was the one that upgraded or upranked all the enemies.
Might have been Storm.
Yeah, I think might have been Storm, but those two, those two playing co-op, especially with 4 players, were almost necessary to get a good challenge out of Legendary. So that's what I'm hoping with like what Jesse's saying and stuff, that because it's 4-player, right? That's the goal.
Yeah. So when you look at the fobs in the early part of the game, there are 4 weapon stations.
Okay, and I did notice that. I thought that was interesting.
And I would say one thing that immediately makes this tougher than most of them is you in the early part, you can even see it. Everything is so much bigger than it's ever been before and so much more wide open and can come at you from every direction at any time. Jackal snipers are the most prevalent they've ever been by far. They're also the easiest to spot. They make them very clear when they're targeting you. But like on Heroic, a stalker rifle, they do 3 shots and then they vent. Those 3 shots can kill you if you haven't upgraded your shield. So you die really fast.
That's better than
to them.
2-shot Halo 2 sniper. So wait,
Yeah,
1 shot.
It was 1 shot a lot. Of
Yeah, it was
times.
1 shot. 1 shot
Legendary,
ahead. Yeah.
But
I mean,
they go bing, bing, bing. They
It
just
didn't even feel like a shot. It felt like they had the wall hack sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Recheck.
It felt like they were on using a PC with aimbots and a wall hack. Yeah.
With the Stalker in the campaign, it has the glare, right?
Mhm.
Stealth.
It's got like a purplish glare, so you know.
Yeah.
There's a
Nice.
reddish glare on the skewer. There's the whitish glare on the human sniper because the banished don't care. They'll use human weaponry whenever they
That's
want.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
This looks somewhat like every time I watch a playthrough, I keep going. I want to start playing this right now.
Yeah.
This looks like it's going to be so much damn fun. Just
Seriously.
with how open these are. Daniel, based on what you heard, what are you thinking? What are you going to be
Heroic.
starting off at? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna start out in Heroic. I mean, I always do. Because like I want a challenge, but I also want to enjoy the story.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, and
the
one
way-
thing I'll say, sorry to cut you off real quick. The balancing on everything is very different. It is fully balanced for single player. So like when you're going through, even on Heroic, the Ravager is a monster. At least early on, like it
nice.
tears through people. So that's the
That's
thing
awesome.
to keep in mind. There are definitely weapons that, and they've got those ammo things you can refill, but you'll definitely want to experiment a little on Heroic to figure out what's really going to tear people apart the quickest.
Cool.
So Daniel, finish your thought, and then I'll try to cut you off.
Yeah, I mean,
All right. So as I was saying, sorry.
I was pretty much done anyway, and I'm not gonna continue.
All right. So I'm like most of you guys. I mean, I usually play it on Heroic and I go to Legendary, but the thing. So here's the one thing that sticks out to me. I played the Gears 5 twice. I did that on the second hardest difficulty the first time, and then I went to the hardest the last time. The first time I played on the hardest, and this is why I was asking you, Jesse. Like part of this is selfish, for me to find out what's best for me because that's really all this is about. But like. When I was played Gears 5, you remember they had those side missions and they had the upgrades. And the first time I played it, I skipped all that. I just beeline through the campaign. And the second time, I actually felt like I needed to do all the side stuff. So it kind of
you
forced
need a
me.
Jack upgraded if you're
Yeah,
playing on
like,
hard.
and there was a reward for doing it. Now, on the flip side of that is it did sort of some of those areas kind of dragged more than they did the first time because I was doing that. And so part of this is, do you want to be forced to do that? I think I will because of what I've seen so far, that I do want to do everything and kind of have that carrot and the stick. So I'm going to give I think I'm going to start off with it. And I feel like we've got enough of a taste of
Brave man.
like what the weapons
Yeah.
do in multiplayer, right? So I shouldn't.
I mean, that's going to be. I mean, there's going to be. I don't know if it's dice rolls the right term, but like a lot of that's going to be determined what you're able to snag, especially in the open world. It's not guaranteed that you're going to have the right weapon for the job. I imagine.
Well, that's where the fobs come in, right? FUDs.
Well,
FUDs.
yeah. But I mean,
No,
but of course, Jesse's going to be able to answer better than any of us. But like, I would imagine that even if you grab weapons from the fob, they may not last long, depending on how far and long you
sense.
go exploring. And
It depends a lot on if you find the right resupply station. Sometimes.
ammo dumps and stuff like those crates.
And also the fact that plasma weapons now just resupply like anything else is really awesome and makes me use them way more.
That is awesome.
Nice.
Sorry, you gone?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the problem with my issue with the difficulty slider, especially not difficulty slider, difficulty choosing it in this game is a lot of games these days. What they'll have is like initially they'll be really tough, but then after a few upgrades and a few stuff, the difficulty just drops down a spike. So what should be like the climax of a game ends up being really easy. It's like the JRPG problem, right? You deck your characters out like crazy. You take on the hardest side boss, and then you one shot the main boss, right? I'm kind of worried a little bit about that. If I'm playing heroic and I'm fully decked out and I'm on the last fight, and if it's not going to be a challenge, then like I feel like I'd be missing out.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention earlier that I do plan to play in heroic whenever but I'm going to play with the Duke controller. So I'm hoping that adds like an extra layer of. Because I tried playing in my stream a week and a half ago. I tried playing multiplayer with the Duke controller, and holy shit, was that an adjustment period? Yeah, and the big thing for me is the bumpers, how they are on that controller. They're not nearly as available or easy to reach as the regular
You use
controller.
the bumper more in this game than ever.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. And so I'm wondering if that inconvenience is going to.
It's like playing Dark Souls, the damn
Mike, I just want
band guitar.
I this is a bold take. I do feel that 343 wasn't considerate to Duke controller players and balancing the game around that.
It still
And,
feels
you're probably gonna be screwed. You talk about handcuffs, playing this with handcuffs.
Wait, does the
on
Duke
it.
controller have the red and black and white buttons?
Yeah.
So what do they map to?
Black and white are the bumpers.
That's the bumpers.
Oh my god!
It's just like,
And I love the Duke controller back in the day, but there was a lot less things you were trying to do.
I still love it now. Like it still felt great. The analog stick still felt great. The only thing was the bumpers. That was the only real thing, because the Xbox One iteration also does have bumpers. They're like little nubs on the top, and they do match black and white and the black and white. So you kind of have two options.
Okay,
it's just the travel or the reach between the triggers, because the triggers are like way down here and the bumpers are like there's a good amount of reach between the.
Oh man.
So yeah, or travel, I guess is the right term. But yeah, I'll see how long that lasts. Let's say.
No, you have to put that on stream, because I you know what? Here's what you need to do. You need to start on Legendary with that damn thing and then stream it. And
I was thinking about doing that too, because like I might stream it on my personal channel if I'm feeling up to it. But yeah, I kind of want to like. I want this to be like a CE moment for me, kind of like that type of a relaunching of Halo type, especially with 4. I loved 5, not so much. Like it's good, but that was kind of a lower point. Not
quick
low,
tangent
but lower.
With 5. I finally watched. I'm watching some people play through Halo for the first time. And I was watching one person who played through 5. They're on the 5th game, and he purposely ignored, or was told to ignore, all marketing. Any marketing, any trailer, any poster, Hunt the Truth, all that stuff, completely ignored it. He had a blast. Even like the cutscenes that like he didn't like like the fight between Locke and Chief. God, I still dislike that cutscene. He was really into it because he didn't have like that giant Hunt the Truth and one's a villain stuff going for it.
What Master Chief would look like in a fight if he was a sumo wrestler? That one.
The funny thing is, I did ignore the marketing because I didn't have an Xbox One at the time. And it's really easy for me to ignore something if it's not even an option. And don't get me wrong, like I did pay attention to reviews and stuff at launch. Like I still did have a genuine interest in how Halo 5 fared, but I didn't have that excitement leading up to launch just because it wasn't even an option for me. So I didn't get caught up in the marketing with Halo 5 at all. A lot of it had to do with the game design. Like it's not even. Don't get me wrong, that cutscene was bogus. But
that cutscene was...
I have more issues with, less so with the story, even though that's lackluster, and more so with the design. Like it's very much designed for co-op. That's very clear.
Oh, 100%.
Like Daniel mentioned earlier, especially at higher difficulties, the AI is just there's no self-preservation. They would just go running and clear fire to try to pick you up. So the AI was lacking with that, and it was too much, especially at higher difficulties, like a cover-based shooter. Instead of like a hero type shooter, because
I could see that.
It was one of those examples where more wasn't always better, in my opinion, because there were so many enemies, especially the dogs or
Crawlers.
whatever. Thank you.
It was definitely designed with co-op in mind. Like solo playing that game and even in heroic was tough.
Because there was too much, especially when you played by yourself, there was too much focus on you.
I'd rather go to the dentist.
So I do want to say something that Mike, before I forget, because for as much as a lot of a lot of you guys. For me, co-op's usually like a thing I do later, so it's not, selfishly it doesn't affect me. But for people that that do like to that are really upset about the co-op not being there, that is one of the big positives. We know this game is balanced for single player, and it feels like from everything that we've heard on every preview on and off the record, it does feel like they've kind of nailed that single player balancing pretty well. So just something to kind of throw out there.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, God, next week. Can you believe that? I feel like I said this last episode, and I said 2 weeks. Can you believe that?
I got to figure out how to get sick between now and.
Yeah, same, man.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier.
You'll get sick real fast, I'm sure.
I work at UPS, so it's like busy season now.
Oh,
so I'm not sure if I'm going to get even a couple days off next week. So we'll see.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting watching us all come in next Friday because I feel like there's gonna be bags under everybody's eyes.
And it is Thursday, Friday because the Game Awards is Thursday, so we're gonna have to go Friday.
Oh, that's right. And we committed to like sitting there instead of playing Halo. So I gotta watch.
Are we gonna try and have all of us completed the campaign by Friday evening?
No.
Oh,
you probably won't.
On Legendary,
those are adults.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. No, I don't know. Even if it's like, because what was it? Phil in that interview was 15 hours in and he still wasn't done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, even if it takes me 15 hours to.
That's a long time for
which
like
I don't
3 days.
think. I hope it doesn't.
I'm not rushing. I'll put it this.
I'm not rushing through it. That's
I'm going to
take my time.
I want to explore. I saw some video. Like I saw a video where you had that one scene, Jesse, where you saw the big ship kind of around you, and I saw him like climb all the way up to. I don't know if it was that one or some other scene. It was like, it's pretty cool. Like just some of the perspectives you can get, based on where you go in the game and stuff. So yeah, I think this is one of those games you want to explore, especially if you have armor laying around somewhere and. You can go show that off in your multiplayer. To me, that's more meaningful than buying an armor, anyways. Is finding it in some difficult spot in the campaign or something, right?
Yep.
They better give me something cool for beating it on Legendary. But anyways, I don't know. Just so I can say, look at I did that. Mike couldn't.
I have no idea. There's no achievements in the preview review build has no achievements, so I don't know.
Okay, all right. So that'd be cool. All right, guys. We'll really quickly touch on this, though, since we talked about. Well, by the way, did we get we got everybody's opinion on that, right? Staten really, he was talking about the being a little bit more, being pretty transparent about some of the game design changes, and we heard there was lots of rumors that came out, and it's hard to know like which ones were true or which ones were good guesses. We won't get into that. We'll just talk about what Staten himself is really kind of admitted to. And at one point he talked about how they redesigned your marine AI, right? So they have pathing to kind of get around the map. They couldn't come with you if they would have released this game
off the edge and not dying because there's no fall damage if you're over the map.
So there was. Which is a key element, right? Like being able to bring your Marines with you now is a key gameplay thing that can add some fun to that overall sandbox. And he talked about that. He talked about how they added the fobs. There again, like the rumors were talking about how there at one point there was like inventories and more customizations of weapons and stuff. And I guess he got rid of some of the things that. That was rumor stuff, so we won't delve too far into that stuff. But potentially, he got rid of some of the,
superfluous elements.
Yeah, that don't really fit into Halo, right?
They kind of do touch on that. Not the weapons specifically, but they. It was the campaign lead, I think. He talked about how dense. It was much more dense than it is now in terms of. It sounded like activities or something, or. There was less downtime, and you're always like with your back against the wall. I think they described it as, and always in a fight or in battle. And this seems like it has a better ebb and flow.
That sounded. I don't want to say it was Far Cry, but it was more towards that, right? Where you're constantly running into things.
Yeah.
There's more management stuff like that. So I guess I bring that up to the point of a lot of time aside from obviously we know the COVID stuff is impacted stuff, but besides that, like when we think about the co-op and how that was delayed, it is worth noting. I think it should be emphasized that this wasn't just the graphics. Like when people say, well, what they released last year, they would have released something that was game designed differently. Like this has more of a Joseph Staten oversight touch to it, right? And hopefully he continues to influence that going forward. We don't know how long he's there, but hopefully that's something that continues. But it is worth mentioning that year delay was about the refinement of the game.
Yes.
Or I mentioned earlier that Halo might be Halo when it's at its best is probably the most Nintendo-esque thing that Microsoft releases, because it is a sum of its parts, right? You can't really convey to somebody how good it is unless they play it and experience the whole thing together. And it feels like they spent a year really, really refining it, and that meant changes to game design. That meant something like co-op. They couldn't just be working on co-op at the same time because things were changing with the campaign. But I just want to throw it out to you guys, because to me that was something I was like that's something that probably nobody. I say nobody. Not a lot of people in the community talk about that. They go like, well, would this game have been? And how do you not get the co-op in there? Couldn't you put something in there? We've even heard that on our own shows. Whoever's got the Australian accent ready. But
it's always been there.
Yeah, it's always just. I don't. Somebody else is going to do that.
Turn the button on. That's all you got to do. I mean,
God, no.
So it's worth calling out, though. And to me, even if I weren't hearing impressions of the game, that would be that would be very encouraging to kind of hear that stuff and understand that this is the guy that understands Halo. That's been overseeing the refinement of the game design and the flow and the pacing and all that stuff. So what thoughts do you guys have any thoughts on that? I just wanted to really bring it up and see if you guys wanted to delve in deeper.
Don't just keep talking unless you start saying something.
We'll just interrupt you if we think of
you can go to the washroom, Daniel. You don't gotta raise your hand.
Yeah.
Take the hall pass.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I think at this point, it's clear that whatever Microsoft has to pay Staten to stay. I mean, he's been at Xbox for a while now, since he left. Well, since he was kind of pushed out of Bungie, obviously. But whatever they've got to pay him to stay with 343, do it. I mean, like you said, Abe, and we've talked about it time and time again too. Like, there were clearly, even disregarding, assuming most of that Reddit post was false, like even without that, that there were structural issues with the game, and Satan's basically admitted that whether they want to call them issues or differences, it's clear that what we're getting now is a much more fine-tuned Staten Halo-ass Halo. Even though there are new elements, even though it is doing what when Halo's at its best, it's not only feeling like Halo, but it's also pushing the genre forward, right? You can kind of pinpoint elements throughout Halo's history where it does that, and I feel like with Satan's help, the guy who's been with Halo the vast majority of its lifespan, it's like whatever you got to do to keep him, do it, because I've tried to limit Mike, I've tried to limit how many videos I've watched. I've tried to limit how many of the previews I've read, because I really want. I've waited 6 years for this, right? I really want to go in as blind as possible. But everything that I have read and have seen, just it's left me with for the campaign specifically, it's left me with more desire to play it, and I don't really have any complaints at this point, but I think it's clear that Staten gets Halo, and we need him around for the next 10 years, right? If that's
you're not going to talk about handcuffs.
Yeah. If he passes, just make sure his brain survives so you can keep it in his car and hook it up to a computer.
Clone him. Make him
we need to get a Cortana version of him overseeing.
I mean, if anything, hopefully he leaves someone in charge that kind of
Yeah.
carries his philosophies and
Yeah.
Right.
principles and stuff, because
Yep.
you know,
You don't want a Tim
everything
Cook
that
situation.
I'm sorry.
You don't want a Tim Cook situation.
No, or
Mm.
and honestly, I very much prefer not a situation of what it sounds like Infinite may have been. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Like I'm not saying it would have been a bad game. I think it would have still been a very good game. The gameplay and everything from last year is one of the stronger things, but it definitely seems like what we're getting now is a much better game.
Much better
Because-
Halo game, especially.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
It's-
Right.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
And one thing
Staten
that
gets Halo, which is why
Yeah.
it's so important.
And,
Yep.
and the one thing that stuck out to me regarding that interview and what was mentioned is that after they got the green light to delay the game, they were able to take a second to breathe and play through the game.
Yeah.
And then they were able to play through it and kind of, I guess, retroactively or respectively think about where they can change things and tweak it and refine it going
Mm-hmm.
with the time that they were then given. And they mentioned about starting a list of where their priorities are in terms of like leading up to launch. They mentioned about the Marines. You know, we mentioned the Marines a few times recently about the changes they made and how they're more common in the open world. It seemed like they were less common in the open world, especially early on. And like you mentioned, Abe, about the pathfinding.
Yep.
Mhm.
You know,
And he
like
mentioned specifically the rescuing the Marines. That was something he's like, we should do this.
yeah,
Right.
because it was more so. It seemed like it was tied to bases before, more so than it is now. It's still at bases. They said some bases, and we do know there's the one base, the prison, that you can attack from the previews. So yeah, that I think was important and really critical that they're able to play through it all the way through, and reflect on it.
And hopefully that philosophy really permeates through Microsoft now, right? Like
Yeah.
they saw what happened. They delayed a big game a whole year to refine, because a lot of the greatness of the game does come into that refinement. You can have everything that sounds really good on paper, but it just doesn't come together.
Yep.
You know, but yeah,
Starfield's coming out later than most people thought it
Yeah.
was. Shows
Yep.
that they
Yeah.
really
I
are
was
focused
gonna
on.
Yep,
Yeah.
I was going to mention that exact same thing because it had Bethesda still been independent and multi-platform. I can see it potentially coming out this year.
Yeah. This extra time is so important. People don't realize just how important it is. I don't even know how important it
especially
is,
now
you know?
with COVID being a thing.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
even more now precious and important than it's ever been.
Yeah, and I think this is now that Xbox has as many studios as it has, and the fact that they're willing to push Halo, it really I feel like, and maybe I'm just projecting here, but it seems as if it's going to be a lesson that really alleviates some of that pressure to meet these arbitrary deadlines for some of these games. Maybe another acquisition or two would help with that too, but I'm just being selfish.
So in a
If
bit
they
of
want to do the one
sorry.
AAA game every quarter, they need as
Yes.
many good big publishers as they can get.
Yep.
Oh, I died.
Yeah, I'm trying not to watch your game.
I like the
I
ragdoll physics too.
I was going to say, in a bit of a conflicting opinion. By the way, if anyone who's listening hasn't read that Staten interview, not gonna lie, I'm mixing up the island now too. I'll be honest. If anyone hasn't read the Staten interview, it is 100% worth reading. Both of them are. I think one was with the Eurogamer and one was with, can't remember. It was just linked and I read it. That being said, I feel like the way he talked in the interview, he might have just been downplaying his own involvement, but there was an implication that this game wasn't like this dumpster fire that people think it was before.
No, yeah,
a lot of people saw that this July demo and they're like, what are they even possibly releasing? And even graphically, by the way, we all know games come together the last few months, even for Infinite, right? The release, this December release, they didn't capture footage until probably September, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They said we're not capturing footage yet.
They changed their entire pipeline, right? Like
Yep.
how they're going to do when they were going to get to that what they call a shutdown phase. But yeah, keep going.
So I'm sure Staten was really important, and I want him to just remain. That being said, I feel like 343 still deserves a fair bit of credit.
Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
Yeah,
game
definitely.
ends up being.
Oh,
I mean,
the whole
I mean,
team, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he could have been the one
Nando,
kind of guiding the ship in some
Yeah.
ways, but it's the rest
Right.
of the team that has the talent and
Build the
the-
pieces to put
Mostly
together.
Chris Lee's game.
And honestly, they probably just needed the time.
Yeah.
You know, like because you know, and that's a good point too, because you know, people like they assume, well, what would this game have been? Well, it would have been a different game, is what it was. What it would have been, and that doesn't necessarily. I mean, it could have been a buggy game. It could have been less.
I feel like it would have still been a good game, but Mike is right. Satan
Yeah.
really made it a Halo game. You know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
Made
we've
sure-
always heard issues with not issues, but we always heard that people have had trouble with 343 in terms of what they want Halo to be, blah blah blah, not a unified vision. You know, we've heard rumors about that stuff. So
Yeah.
having someone
Well,
up
it's
there
not
saying,
even
"No,
rumors. Yeah.
this is what it is."
Well, yeah. I mean,
This
it's
is
been
what it is. This is what we're doing.
rebooted a couple times, even.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and it's not even rumors to what you said there. So it's they Josh Holmes, who was
Yeah.
part. I mean, he was very when he left 343. He did. I could never find the podcast because
I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, I think I watched
yeah,
it.
like he was he was on the record, and it's like we spent half of the development cycle arguing about where we were going to be in direction, and then we had a year and a half to get the game out. We did the same thing for 4 and 5, and 5 was supposed to be so much bigger, and he says you could kind of see where we maybe had ideas of that, and then it kind of it's like, okay, we just had to get something out. So what they were able to do here is, and people don't understand that too. Like even in technology, you know, a lot of times getting the idea refined and getting everybody to go, yep, that's it. And, you know, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
And once you get that, then it's just like, okay, now we just need to plan out. You know, we can plan it out. And I think that's what happened. You know, he came in there and again, I'm making assumptions here.
You're a
based on
headcanon.
yeah, it's just you come in there, and then when you're able to get over a full year delay right off the bat, like you know that when you hear developers talk and they say, when I get 2 more weeks and then 2 more weeks and then a month, it doesn't really help me because of your approach. When you know you get another 6 months or another year, it's like, okay, we can step back now. What can we get done in that year? We can maybe pull this thing down and redo this aspect, and you can plan it out differently. When you're always planning for 2 weeks from now, you're always in crunch, and you're never really.
Imagine sitting on that meeting where they're like, "Yeah, we need a full year," and Microsoft's like, "What? Yeah, we need a full year."
And if this thing hits the way that we all hope it does,
then it's going to show that it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a sign to the industry, right?
I would almost say that just the initial reaction that we're seeing now already makes it worth it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping that the final payoff is it follows through with that momentum or what have you. But yeah, it's and we've already mentioned it a few times in this show where how so many games, and especially like recent other competing shooters have launched. I want this to be an example of give the game the time that it needs to be the
And
best
see
that
the
it can
results.
be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fans are going to understand. I mean, I don't think there was much backlash with the delay. There was disappointment and stuff, sure, but I don't remember there being much in the way of backlash.
Depending on where you were at, which
Yeah.
sides you?
But I mean, I think any of the minor backlash, because like I guess I pay more attention, or I try to follow, or the more level-headed people, you know,
Right? Yeah.
So they were like, okay, this is the right call. It's disappointing, but it's the right call,
Right.
And and then Cyberpunk launches, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that was the right call, like. So it's this last year, especially, I think, is a good reminder of why they made the right call, and that this is.
And that's why I'm hopeful Staten stays, because
You had it right
wait,
the first time.
oh my god, dude!
Stop second guessing yourself.
It's why I'm a little hopeful Staten stays, because if this is, and this should be, I don't know if it is, Microsoft's still a giant trillion-dollar corporation that wants to make money, but if their MO now is, you want to make something, take the time you need to make it. If that's their MO, then it should help out not only with making a good game, but it should help out with the most important thing, in my opinion, which is what? Talent retention, right?
Yeah.
How many? I think there was a report today on Twitter. Anyway, someone posted it with like a bunch of DICE devs
It
leaving.
was Tom
right after.
Henderson.
Tom Henderson. There you go.
tweeted
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
A bunch of DICE devs leaving, and we've heard Naughty Dog same thing, revolving door, right? You're in,
Well,
you
because
work
of
to the
crunch.
death.
BioWare,
Yeah.
we've seen what's been happening
Yep.
with BioWare for years now.
And it's a
Yep.
two-headed punch from Xbox because they're both make the game you want and take the time you need.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
a big focus on taking that time, and I think it's a big thing with Bethesda, is take the time you need for QA because your games
Yes.
are crazy complicated.
Right.
So I wouldn't be shocked if Starfield's in a great place, and they could have released with that classic Bethesda jank that they then have to
Exactly.
work around.
Yeah.
That they
Instead,
rely on
you
the
take-
community to go patch. Yeah.
Instead, they
It-
get to focus on QA in a way they never have before because they don't have to
Yeah.
worry about budgets the way they used to have to.
It
Yeah.
is
Paying
a
bills.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a nice change, I guess, for the better. I don't know how to describe it, but like considering
Oh, it is,
how I'm sorry.
It is absolutely.
Yeah, like,
it's an
you
improvement over
see
360
what-
era, especially.
Well, like early Xbox One days, how mismanaged and everything, and not so
Yeah.
much.
Record could have used an extra year would have made that game.
Yeah,
hit
That
But,
could have been
you
a
know,
franchise, right?
the
If they
problem
would've
is they
done
didn't
that.
have the resources or funding or backing they
right.
do now.
Yep.
And-
Yep.
and-
There
but
were
now
tons
with
of
that
issues.
level of support brings that level of freedom and leeway and support. It's really encouraging to see, because if you're going to delay Halo at a console
Right?
launch,
Holy crap.
that means that you're at least open to consider anything as long as it's for the better of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything has
And
to
they
be on
have
the
so
table at
they
this
have so
point.
much coming. So
Yeah.
so much we know of,
Yep.
so much we don't know
don't.
of.
Mhm.
Like they just aren't relying on things as much. It's not we have to do everything we can to get this out because we don't have anything for a while.
Like
Because
maybe in,
Sony ended up hitting that this year.
yeah.
They had to get out Ratchet and Returnal, both of which were pretty buggy at launch and
Yep.
probably could have used a little more time. But thankfully they have pushed back Horizon Forbidden West. They have
Yes.
seemingly
God of War.
pushed back God of War, but I don't think that
Right.
was ever this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know who
Right.
thought
But
that.
they have pushed back Horizon. I'm wondering, like, they don't have the same number of studios. So how did they get to
Yeah.
that point where they can offer more time? Because their studios are famously very crunch heavy for the most part, especially Naughty Dog.
I'm hoping that this is like the entry to a
Eye-opener.
golden era of
Right.
Xbox, where you have, it's a win-win for everybody, right? Like, because they have so many developers, because they can end up allowing studios to take time to put out content,
Mhm.
because they're going to have this revolving door of content.
They have the funding.
The
They have the
game-
monetization.
They have the funding, so that the game comes out better. People subscribe to Game Pass, people buy those games, and therefore the shareholders and all those people are happy too. So it's just, and again, you reduce that crunch, and hopefully you remove that element of mass exodus that you tend to see after some of these big AAAs are released because of the experience that people have had in that run up to release.
Yeah, no, I think those are all good points, and yeah, like I said, the main point was it is just to highlight that, and let people know that it wasn't just Craig. He didn't spend a year giving him a makeover. There was a lot more to it, and that should all matter. But you know what? We are running a long time. We haven't even got. I forgot we have community questions. We got
Community questions?
Oh crap! All right, Jesse, you ready to go through those? Do you got them up?
Yep, I do.
All right, let's go ahead.
All right.
I'll let you read them.
So, first one from Andrew Schmidt. Now that we're at the end of the road from the announcement in 2018 to now, do you have a particularly favorite moment in terms of a specific announcement or reveal? I'd imagine for Halo Infinite, obviously. Like, what in that time from the initial trailer, what's your favorite memory for this marketing blitz?
So is he talking about everything related to Infinite? If it was everything related to Infinite, I think the first time they showed it was pretty cool. Seeing everybody. Other than that, it was just them announcing delay. We just talked about it, but But honestly, just to reiterate, to me that was shocking because I never thought that would happen, and that was a sign of a new Microsoft and giving it 343 a chance to really stick the landing. So that was my favorite moment, honestly. Any
Yeah,
other
I mean
thoughts?
that hits pretty hard for me with the delay. It was looking back now at how everything's gone, how all the marketing's gone. I was really excited by the actual gameplay reveal last year, even though it didn't look
Yep.
the prettiest.
Yep.
Just what
Yeah.
I saw gameplay wise
good.
And it
was
showed the music,
so
too.
good looking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely the announcement trailer for me. Just I think I watched at least like 70, 80 reactions to it or something afterwards, because people are like, what is it? Is it Tomb Raider? Is this like Far Cry? They had like the craziest guesses.
The slip space.
The Slip Space
trailer?
Engine trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Even the second trailer, I feel like if Phil didn't say that we're ending off with Halo, that trailer was designed to make it seem like, whoa, it's Halo. You know, when he swipes the
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm right there with the announcement trailer because it was so weird because so I had those same kind of like confused and surprised reactions, but for whatever reason, I thought Infinite was the Battle Royale announcement just because it showed the open world and it showed it just showed an open world and Chief going through with a warthog with it, and it just for whatever reason I just thought it was the battle. So like I was excited, but then I was disappointed,
And then like, oh no.
yeah, I was like, oh, not Battle Royale, because I even streamed it on my personal channel way back then, and you can see me being like, no, and then after the fact, I was like, oh, this is the actual Halo. Because I expected Halo 6, and the fact that it had Infinite made me think it was like a side thing. And back then, the Battle Royale was the big rumor, and so I thought that's what it was. But
It's like the announcement of the Series X, right? People are like, Series X? Is it a new console? What is this?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you were, so I saw so many reaction videos, and 343 actually had a stream where they broke down. And I think it was the director of the initial trailer.
Yeah.
And they broke down everything. And it was really interesting because they had like a roadmap of the emotions they wanted viewers to feel during this trailer, like confusion, mystery, stuff like that, little hints here and there. And then if you watch that stream where they break down how they wanted players to react or feel, and then you watch the reactions, they really nailed it. They really nailed it.
Yeah,
so
that was mine too. Yeah, mine was the Slip Space trailer. I still remember the first time I looked over at my wife and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is Halo. Was when you see the Mjolnir kind of shadow through the tent. Remember, and like the walkie-talkie is vibrating. You're like, oh, and I was like, I think this is Halo. And then you see the underwater shot, and then 30 seconds later you see the Marines and they light their flares.
It was the Marines for me. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, it's Halo.
It was like, it was such an incredible moment.
And they opened the show with that trailer. Right?
Yeah. The crazy thing is, if the Giant Bomb interview with Spencer, which I do miss from E3s now, a week before E3, they weren't going to open with that.
Yeah.
And they made that like last minute change. So that it's crazy they opened with it. And there was a bunch of those people that were like, they're not going to open with Halo. And, I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, and they did. It was incredible. Yeah, and I think just like Abe said too, like, and then the delay, the marketing material I think has been on point thus far, but the fact that they were willing to delay not only their biggest IP, but aside from Minecraft, but their biggest IP for a launch. I mean, that's almost unheard of, in the industry. And so
it's definitely their most important IP for what they're trying to do now.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it definitely showed that they were serious about giving 343 the time without having to force crunch for 7 months or whatever it would have been, and ensuring that players end up with a Halo game that's worthy of waiting for 6 years. So
hey Jesse, real quick, how many questions do we have? Because we might want to just do quick fire on these.
I'd say a couple. There's one where Beast Mode suggests a couple people we could try and get on as guests, which I'll keep in mind for the future. We got one from Podrick Payne, some dickhead I grew up with. Season's greeting, you gang of creepy mistletoe lurkers. My question is for Don Cabeta. I know your fancy ass has finished the campaign already, and you can't talk about certain things. How'd he know? I just want to know, when you log on to Twitter or the forums, etc., do you feel an air of superiority amongst the plebs? I feel an air of terror to never say something I'm not supposed to.
Too much power for one man.
Yeah. It's all right. We'll bring him back
down to his
down. You know, we'll figure it.
And just to bring you back to Earth,
got
remember
time.
there is someone else at XboxEra who already beat the campaign before you even started it, and he's getting his name in the end credits. That's a funny
shit.
thing. I beat the game before John did.
Shots
Oh.
fired.
Are you allowed to say that, Jesse? But anyways,
Yeah.
People
brother's
were
gonna
talking
get you
about
in
the fact
trouble.
that they've beaten the game.
never gonna get another code again.
Friggin' like 3 days after the previews went up, people were like, "Oh yeah, I've beaten it."
Yeah,
Like,
you're
I
right.
don't think they care.
No.
All right, and the last one, someone asked if there, we can answer this on the actual thing. There is a podcast feed. It's only one episode behind.
Yes, there is. That's on me. I've been sucking at it. I feel like I might ask for help with either Jesse or someone else. So it's
God,
more
Ursula.
often.
I'm happy to help with whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm recording, so this MP3 will be uploaded within
Awesome.
probably half an hour
Perfect.
after the show.
I
take
actually I
that
did
one
write
offline.
timestamps too. So
So-
All right, and then from good old Collingwood, Halo hallowed,
It's hollow.
Halo
Yeah.
holograms. What the fuck?
hello.
Okay, the question I couldn't
Tongue
ask Pacific
twister.
Mechanico because it felt too close to breaking his NDA. He couldn't answer the question I put forward anyway. So, do you think Forge will be released early to select modders and content creators so that once Forge goes live to the public, there will be DLC the players can try out right away, rather than having to make something from scratch? I will say I am not familiar on how Forge was released in earlier iterations, but I am looking at games such as Minecraft, with their thriving fan content market being a model for Halo Infinite. Good old Collingwood, by the way. Why do you call the weapon Nutana? Because
A
we
new
think
Cortana.
she's.
Cortana.
Yeah.
That's been our guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it saves a
Still, I'm only
syllable.
talking about what our guess was.
Kind of
And,
self-explanatory.
and I think the answer to this question is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even just
I'm
the
sure
Forge
John's-
Council themselves can be in there and working on
yeah.
stuff.
I guess it matters of how early is early. Like I could see them doing a preview event thing like they did with the campaign.
Mm.
They've got 10 people that are been working on Forge for like over a year or two. So I mean, even just
Yeah.
those people making stuff with the Forge Council.
I guess the difference here would be making it public. You know,
Wonder if Sek will make his pirate ship again.
Probably. He'll try.
I can't wait till I can ask him what he has been making. I have not put him
Yes.
on the spot. I know he can't say
Yeah.
a word,
Yeah.
so I haven't bothered asking.
You know, it's interesting, and this would be for another show. But like when people mention Forge and stuff, it just makes me think. This time next year, how much bigger Halo's
God.
probably going to be.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
It's probably going to be just like what we're seeing now is probably the tip of the iceberg.
I haven't signed an NDA on Forge, so I feel fine to say that on the YouTube leaks that have been up and then get probably struck down in 2 seconds, it looks immense.
yeah,
It
it
looks
looks
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
It looks like a mini game engine in some regards.
And not to put a positive spin on it, but like they could capitalize on the delays of co-op and Forge to kind of get injections of hype and not
Yeah,
relaunch
they're like
per se.
they're
But
mini launches.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
fully
yeah.
expect co-op to be a pretty big, substantial update. You know what I mean?
yeah. Same thing with Forge
Yeah.
too. You know, like one thing that I hope or they can possibly do is plan something out with content creators so they're at launch of Forge. There's already a plethora of items out there for you to download, game modes and stuff like that. Would be cool.
With how well planned out they had the esports part of it, I wouldn't be shocked if they really are looking at that, because it also sounds, and I have no idea, the way Joseph Staten has talked about co-op, it sounds like they want to do something really cool with it and not just you're mirrored, the main guy gets progression, you're tethered to each other. Like they want to do something about co-op, and they keep talking about your multiplayer Spartan.
Yeah.
In a way that makes me think that maybe they bring that in somehow. Like there's so much about their plans for the game that I really can't wait until the holidays are finished, and I think they'll start talking about them now.
If anyone's listening and hasn't played the little academy thing, by the way, do so. It has a little bit of story tidbits. It's almost like a mini prologue to the main game. It's pretty cool.
It's actually it's a really important story beat. When I did it, I was like, oh shit. Well, what happened? Because it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
In that opening cutscene for the academy.
All right, guys. Is that all the questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got definitely not a short episode.
The one before
When
the
is it
launch of
ever?
the actual game, it was never going to be short.
Yeah. And we
I
still
bet
didn't talk
you-
about a lot of things.
Yeah, we'll do the TGAs next week, and that's going to be like fucking 3.5, 4 hours.
Oh
'cause
my
I'm
god, it's gonna be a
just
long
pacing.
stream, dude.
Yeah,
Holy
that's
crap.
why I'm going to have it set so it can be me to 4 people,
Okay.
because I know people are going to have to dip because it's going to be so long.
Looks like we did get a
Um,
super chat from Faisal before we sign off here.
Oh god.
If it's friends related, I'm gonna cut the screenshot.
If each Halo game mode was friends,
All right,
if each
goodbye,
Halo
everyone.
game mode was friends character. Oops, wrong pod. Keep up the great work, guys. Thanks, Faisal.
Yeah, is anyone here
Thank you.
a fan of Friends? So I can know to mute you.
No.
Solid
Okay.
8 episodes of the show.
You know, it was a show my ex watched religiously, so
No.
decided not to be
No,
my
that's
thing.
easy.
It was never my thing because of that. So yeah, I think we're gonna want to sign off, you guys.
Yeah.
First of all, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Sol, here in a second. But want to say thanks to everybody in the chat, especially for kind of being with us. I know we went really long and kind of talking to us, but been paying attention, but not really interacting because people can hear me typing. Before I kick it over to you, so I do want to just make sure that we get a chance to mention the book for the Xbox
Yes,
platform.
yes.
And you were a baby at the time, Soul, but for everybody that wasn't, which is most of us, like old
80%
cynical
of us.
farts here, like that. Basically, if it weren't for the original Xbox 20 years ago, we probably wouldn't be here as a team. And really, we're putting together an incredible book. We got an art guy working on
the
it.
screen.
Yeah, it's if you are a fan of the Xbox as a platform, this book's being made for you. So check it out on the Kickstarter. I am going to go turn it over to Sol just to kind of sign us out, but I want to make sure I got that in.
Yeah.
Look at that number.
And
We're at
yeah, we're-
41K.
that's
We're
crazy.
so close.
That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we're getting
Pounds,
there.
We're
We're
over almost 31,000 pounds. We're really close.
Yeah.
So fake
Almost
money.
60,000 Canadian.
All right, Sol, sign us off.
Sorry, money doesn't count.
We've got one more Ultimate Edition. If anyone was wondering, they added a few more, and there's one left.
But yeah, you guys have been with us this entire time. You most likely know the drill. Like the video if you liked it. If you feel free to ask questions. Right now we're not big enough to do it like Patreon questions only. So ask a question, we'll answer it. You know what I mean? I noticed sometimes there's some questions in chat. I will try and get those, but not always because chat's kind of fast at times. But if you want to talk Xbox, we have the Xbox forum you can check out. If you have any kind of comments about the video, please comment it. We'll see it coming. Sorry, we won't see it coming. We'll read it. We'll know what it is. And yeah, if you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. We're going to have a couple big videos next week. I mean, yeah. May or may not be Halo related. I can't say.
There's zero reason to not have a Halo review at launch at the latest. So
Yes. Yeah.
If someone tried to set an embargo after launch, I would tell them, go, what?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Didn't the game do that recently? Anyways,
yes,
yeah.
actually. There was a game that had an embargo that was 8 hours after launch.
that's so weird.
I put it up at launch and they didn't say anything.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, we'll be back next Friday, right? We'll be here on Thursdays while watching the TGA.
And we'll be back tomorrow, actually.
Yes, yeah. Tomorrow's the community night, right? It's starting at
7, I think I started it
7
at. So
p.m.,
people can join as the night goes
Eastern,
on if you're
right?
not there at time. 7
7
p.m.
Eastern.
Eastern US.
yeah, and we can have up to 12 doing Big Team Battle. It'd be fun, but hopefully we'll have more and we can try some custom games. That'd be
Custom's
interesting.
pretty broken. I don't know.
Yeah, I've
the
heard
good
that
thing,
too.
the good news, everybody, is they've limited the options for Soul to ruin the game in custom mode. So
I was gonna say, and one thing we didn't talk about at all this episode, but I feel like we'll definitely bring it up next time is HCS. If you guys aren't
Hmm.
watching it, give it a
Mhm.
shot. It's actually really well done.
Yep.
I
planned as well.
might have had a screen open on the left with the game happening right now, but
Did you just freeze?
He froze, and now there's
Oh,
no
we
audio.
lost audio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't hear you, so
that was
sorry.
good timing.
We'll
If you're
start
if you're ever gonna flame out, you know, you made it to the finish line. We can pull you over this
There you go.
far.
Hello.
I just spoiled the entire game. I guess you guys kind of lucked out there. We'll be back next week, pretty soon.
Mhm.
Friday.
All
There was
right.
lots of content coming.
Yeah. What's the plan, by the way? Are we thinking of staying weekly even after launch?
We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for
See
joining
you all.
us.
See you
Bye, everyone.
later.